A lot of fun with it. Casey says, other than your dad's watch, which watch is your favorite in your collection? Wrist and or pocket? It's a great question. That's a really great question. And it's a hard one, but I think I would probably go. I have a pocket watch from it's hundreds of years old. It was made in the early 1800s in England. It was actually made in Liverpool, and it's a fusee, which I'm sure Casey knows what it is, but it runs on a chain. You actually wind it, and there's a chain that turns a barrel. Looks just like a little chain you would see on a bike, except it's microscopically thin, and they're very difficult to keep without those chains breaking. And this thing is 200 and almost 230 years old, give or take, 220 some odd years old, and the chain's never been repaired. It's the original chain on the fusee, and I fire it up about once a year. It's always a little stressful when you wind it up, and over the course of a day, it will lose probably 3 minutes. 3 minutes in accuracy over the course of a day. But you cannot imagine how great that was back then, right? That was at a time where nobody on the planet owned a watch. Like if you had a watch, you were friggin' rich. There was like a clock tower in the center of town, and that was how everybody told time. Or you had, you might have had something in your house, but very few people had something they could carry around. That was just insane. What do you think? What do you think you would do with your life if you didn't get into the drug world? Honestly, I think I probably would have ended up either a lawyer, because I'm fascinated by the law. I really am. And I spent a lot of time trapped in it, and I spent a lot of time in law libraries and helping people do stuff. And I think I probably would have been decent at it. Or I may have ended up a politician, because it's that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Lisa Trimble, good to see you, Pearl. Glad that you're here for a little bit or any amount of time. It is always an honor to have you. It really is. Hold on one second. I feel like I might have missed something here. Let me back up. It does happen from time to time, people. You know what? I don't have the patience for it. But that's a good question. That's definitely the other watch that I'm just really enthralled with. It's the main stone, the main jewel for the center bearing on the watch is a diamond, and it's got to be a friggin' quarter carat, because they weren't doing a really great job back then of making really teeny. Most of the jewels today, they're all man-made. They weren't doing that. They were chiseling stuff. They were having to actually shape these things. So a lot of the times, if they could make it out of a bigger stone, they would. And this just had a huge diamond that was actually functional. That's where the post went into. But damn cool watch. Damn cool watch. And I've had the opportunity to sell it so many times for a huge profit, and I just can't pull the trigger. I don't know. I've been hitting the super hot peppers pretty hard the last few days. It's so much better than beer. Damn straight it is. Moon Shadow says, I love the relationship Tourette's. I feel for you with the long distance thing. You know something? It sucks. It really does. And I didn't anticipate it sucking, if you really want to know the truth. I just didn't think it was going to be that big a deal. But it is. I'm struggling. Shelly Kelly says, are those locked up or jail shows accurate? They're accurate for the jail that they're at. Jail and prison are so different, right? They're so different. They really are. There are so many people in the county jail that aren't guilty, honestly, or they're guilty of really petty crimes, and they're doing a sentence of 4 months, right? But that's not, it's nothing. It's just that they're going to do 120 days. So you've got guys in there for bank robbery. You got guys in there for armed robbery or for grape, right? You got guys in there for some foul, serious crimes, and they're sprinkled among all of these people that have no right being in there. A lot of them are squares, solid citizens that just screwed up and ended up in there. Right? Second DWI, something like that. And that creates a really weird dynamic. When you get to prison, everybody there is a convicted felon. Everybody there has been through that process and that system, and this is your life now. In a county jail, everybody's hoping to get out. In prison, it's like, well, this is it. This is where I live. I got to get a job. I got to try to flourish in this environment because this is where I live now. It's really kind of a different thing. So yeah, those shows are accurate in that the violence that you see, violence is pretty standard stuff in jail and in prison. And it's not, they would have you believe it's every single day because that over that long period of time that they're filming, they're going to edit down, right? To make it look like it's happening every day. It normally isn't, even in prison. It's boredom. Like nothing bad will happen in the unit for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And you're just like, it gets into this thing where you're like, hey, this ain't so bad. And guys are hanging out in the day room and playing cards or they're watching television and everything is groovy. And then somebody cuts someone's throat, right? In the day room. And the guy walking around looks like a sprinkler system and he's just spraying blood everywhere. And you're like, holy hell, where do I live? Right? This is my life. And now, so you went from boredom, right? Groundhog Day, same crap every single day to your heart doing this one, right? Because all of a sudden it's war kind of crap, like real blood, people getting cut with the intent to remove them from planet Earth. And most people, even if you've lived kind of a criminal life, probably don't see that very often, right? How many fistfights, honestly, do you see in the course of your lifetime? Right? It's not something that most people see a lot. Well, if you're in prison, you see a lot of them. Like this happens a lot, and it's and fistfights are common. They're almost daily. They're very, very commonplace fistfights. But the stuff that rises to the level of people stabbing and cutting one another, no, you can go a month or two without seeing that. But it's that waiting for the shoe to drop that will drive you insane. CJ Harris, I don't know the answer to this. I really don't. I'm terrified these days to take anything because, well, I'm terrified these days to take anything. My brain had a really bad reaction. And while I was that screwed up, I've talked about this before. You know what? You'll probably see it because there's a person out there that likes to smut me up. But I fought with Quibs. We weren't even, we were really, really new in our relationship. But that caused me a meltdown. If you've been on the boat for any length of time, you watched it. I had a nervous breakdown. There's no other way to put it. So if I find any, I promise I'm going to talk about them here. As of now, there's nothing that I've really come across. The doctor has told me vitamin D, really huge amounts of vitamin D, and I take it. I take massive amounts of vitamin D. But that's the only thing that, and I was told that by somebody in prison, a doctor in prison named Dr. Fernandez. And he really seemed to have his shit together, and he absolutely cared about convicts. So I took a lot of stock in what that guy said. Did you do all your time in federal prison, or do you have experience in the state facilities too? Good question, Kathy. The first time I went to prison, I did it in a state facility. Melissa, good to see you. Hey, Kestrel, the first time I did it in a state facility. It's a very different world. Right? In the state, you could buy a television set, right? And have it in your cell. That's very, very different. It really was really, really different than the feds. Completely different. It was much easier time. It felt a lot less like prison and more like college without any chicks around. It was very kind of, lighthearted. There was very little violence. It was like prison-y land, honestly. I was at a very, very soft prison in Nevada. It was super soft. And I think, all of them basically were, unless you were at their Supermax out in Ely. That was pretty nasty from what I understand. High Desert got pretty nasty, but for the most part, it's way different. It really is way different. Otterdan says, my father was a tinker. What got you into watch repair? Great question. I wanted to see how one worked. When I was about 12 years old, I wanted to see how one worked. So I used to buy them at thrift stores, and I could buy a woman's watch at a thrift store for $1.50, $2. Now those watches are worth, $150. If I had just, filled shoeboxes full of them, I'd be rich. But they were women's watches and they wouldn't work. And I was like, oh, if they don't work, who friggin' cares? So I started taking them apart to try to figure out what each part did. And once that made sense to me, once I understood that, oh, this is driving this gear train, and this thing at the end here, that's doling out the power, right? Like once that started to make sense to me, I had the guts to try to repair a watch for somebody. I had a friend who didn't charge him anything or anything like that, but he had a pocket watch, and he said, "Would you take a look at it?" I said, "Sure." And it just had a broken spring, right? The main spring that you wind was broken, and I went and got a watch and took the main spring out of it, and it took me probably a week to figure out how to get that spring all coiled up and put back. I could do it now in a minute, but it honestly took about a week the first time. It was just a matter of me really always loving watches and being fascinated by them. I wanted to see how an automatic worked compared to the other things. Rick, the best thing that I saw in prison, I would say, is twofold. When I was in the state facility, when a guy comes in, their race takes care of him. So a white guy walks in, the white boys go up and go, "Here's some food. Here's stuff to put on your feet when you get in the shower slides, because you never get in the shower barefoot. That causes a fist fight. So here are your shower slides. Here's some toothpaste, some hygiene stuff, just everything you need when you first get to prison. Set of nail clippers, that kind of stuff." And my job was to do that for the white boys. I was the head of that little welcoming committee in the unit I was in. And this guy comes in one day, and he's a black dude. And they didn't, in that particular unit, the black boys were not particularly organized, and they didn't have anything for this guy, nothing. And it was a bummer. It really was a bummer. And, he's in here every once in a while. His name is Jeffrey Canale. He shows up in the chat here. I was in prison with him in the state. And he was one of the guys I talked to. And I said, "Hey, man, I know the white guys are probably going to go nuts, but how about if we take care of this dude?" Right? And he goes, "Well, we should probably ask some of the guys so that we don't cost," because everybody has to chip in for this. So we got a bunch of the white guys together and said, "Hey, you know what? They didn't have a package for this dude. Like, he doesn't even have stuff to put on his feet when he gets in the shower." And every dude there went, "Oh, no, style his ass out. Right? Give him everything. No, hook him up." And it was a pretty cool moment. I'm not going to lie to you. It was a pretty cool moment. And they put together a hell of a welcome package for this dude, and that kind of humanity happens occasionally in prison, and that's a really big deal. And I've talked about the other one was I spent a Christmas on the suicide watch. And I could do a whole show. It would take me a long time to go through it, but the guys that came, and there were people that had to babysit me for a month, and they would train them out every 4 hours. And those guys, I got to know them really, really well, and they were just some of the kindest people I ever met. The humanity was pretty on display. There's actually a lot of the juxtaposition between people who really love, like Q, people who just, everything about them is, "I want to make your life better," and then there are people in there with the exact opposite. They just want to kill you or make your life as awful as they can. And there are asses like that on the street. You're going to run into people like that everywhere. But how did you navigate the violence in prison so you don't end up getting the snot beat out of you or worse? Do you solve that problem with violence yourself, or does diplomacy work at all? What makes you think I didn't get the snot beat out of me? I took one or two ass kickings. One by the staff, by the police, is the worst ass kicking I ever had in my life. For real. It took weeks and weeks and weeks before I could, before I was right, before I stopped peeing blood. It was probably 2 weeks. No, there's a lot of diplomacy, but the problem is this. If somebody says, there are certain words, right? If somebody calls you a punk or calls you a bitch, you have to fight them. There is no diplomacy at that point. If you do not react to that with violence, the rest of the prison is going to walk into your cell and just start taking things, and you're going to be a victim instantly. Like, you'll be victimized so badly that you will want to leave before the end of the day. So you can be diplomatic. And I really was. I prided myself on being able to talk my way out of more fights than I got into, right? I think, especially in that environment, I think that shows that's a skill. It's a damn skill, and it's one I was proud of, to be sure. But yeah, it's not something you can do every time, right? It's not something that you can do every time, because if by some chance somebody calls you a punk or a bitch, and you just go, "Oh, right, here we go." Now there's Now there's no option, right? Now we got to do this. And so you can talk your way out of a lot of them, but as far as navigating, there's some really simple rules. Don't gamble with money that you don't have. Don't buy drugs on credit, right? Those are two really easy ways to make sure you stay out of crap. And then, don't call somebody a punk or a bitch unless you really want to fight that person, because you're going to. There's no other option. That's just how it works. It's tough. It really is. Question: do you have a favorite The Lifeboat live stream? I've been watching for about 7 months, and you have a ton of great live streams, but you also have a ton of lives. Do you think I can watch them all? I don't think I can watch them all. You know what, DS Kitty? I have people that have got here and watched them all. Absolutely blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind, because it's thousands of hours of me doing this. I don't know if you guys have ever gone down that rabbit hole, did a little deep dive here on the Lifeboat, but there are thousands of hours of us doing this. Are there any I'm particularly proud of? Yeah, there's one where I talked about that Japanese art of repairing the broken pottery with the use of gold. I was proud as hell of that one. There was another one where I talked about like the restoration of a watch, and I talked about patina, and I talked about things like that. It was right after one of my watch shows where I was out selling watches, and I barely made it home. I had no show prepared, and I think that's probably one of the best shows I ever did. It was a great show. It was a perfect analogy between watches and antique stuff that ain't rusted, right? That's patina. that rust makes it look a little better. And that's, I think, addicts and people who have been suffering. You don't have to be a drug addict. You just have to be suffering. But all of us tend to end up that way, in my opinion. Gamer Jackie, you look really great in green. I mean that. BC says, do you know of anyone involved with the Suboxone dental decay lawsuit? How it's working out for them? Thanks. I know of an individual who told me that he intended to put himself in for that lawsuit. I do not know whether or not he has. I've heard nothing from anybody so far. I'm sorry. Kristen Melinda says, thank you for sharing my channel, Jason P. I would love to do more interviewing, but timing is tricky with the little one. We have fun over there, though. If you have a wrench, put up a link to Kristen Melinda's page. Great opportunity to just get to know people that you see all the time in chat. She's a deep thinker. She really is. She's a very, very deep thinker, and she's fun to watch. Spike says, hey, Tommy, I think you're having problems with your connection. I can't see you. Everybody else, anyone else not seeing me? I think it might be you, hon. But anyone else having problems seeing me? Gamer Jackie says, Tommy, of all the people I watch, I believe in you and what you are trying to do. Might not be able to sub all the time, but this is my first time subbing to anyone. Wow, that is the coolest thing I've ever heard. It really is. Thank you so much. That means a ton to me. It really does. And if you're coming here and you're watching the boat, you are supporting the hell out of this channel. You really are. And if you take the time to leave a comment or hit a thumbs up, then you're supporting the cause a little bit more. And I really do appreciate that. Yeah, Chili Phil, the guy's a douche nozzle. But I honestly, what I do is I just try to avoid those cats. I just try to people that Jen Nelson tossing them out like hot sauce packets. People who good night, Lisa Trimble. I love you. People who thrive on hate. Right? You just have to honestly start asking yourself, why do you let that into your life? Why do you let that into your life? But there are people who groove to it. I mean, there are people who dig that. They love drama. Do people ever still surprise you? If so, how? Absolutely. Absolutely, they do. More often than not, it's, I think I've thought of virtually every angle of think about what I do. How many ways can how much can it change, right? From one person to the next, their life experience, what they have going on in their family or in their life or whatever, that's super different, right? But my conversation with them, the principles that I'm working at, they're not going to change. They're the same, and they'll be the same 100 years from now. And because I had so much time in the joint to do nothing but journal and read books on this stuff, I may not be right on everything, but I sure as hell feel like I have I can argue any of it. Like I know the subject matter enough where I absolutely can argue it. Every once in a while, somebody will bust out with a new angle. And it's something that I haven't thought of, and I'll go, oh my God. In fact, you do it all the time. Oddly enough, Kristen Melinda is one of the people who does this. Ben Turner does this. There are people that they'll come out with something and I'll go, holy crap. Or it's the exact same thing I'm saying, but they say it so much better that I'm like, for 3 years I've been saying this, but I've never said it that well. That's another thing that surprises me. Because again, I kind of feel like I can still speak. Tamber June says, how to find small watches for teeny wrists. I have a rectangular one and a tiny old Timex that was my Grammy's. Dad loves pocket watches. Watches rock. How do you find small watches? They're super easy to find. You can find them on eBay. You can find them on any of those kind of auction or sites where people sell things. Just look at women's watches, and anything that was a woman's watch that was made prior to about 1971 or 72 is teeny. They just started making women's watches bigger very recently. It's a very new development. You know what? Can't think of a better name. I did a chair yoga video before I left to go to help my friend Reese. And uploading it, half of it uploads, and I don't know why the other half won't. I have to reshoot the video, and honestly, I'm not joking. It's on my list of things to do before I go back to Tennessee, right? But it's been like, today was 105, 110, and I'm going to be doing this in the sun. And I was just like, I don't think I got 45 minutes of this in me, right? So the first time we catch a little bit of an overcast day, I'm your Huckleberry. But up until that point, I'm probably a little slow. Kathy Loves Horses says, hi, Tommy. Love you and everybody on this channel. Me too. I love everybody on this channel. Sweet Liberty says, no, Tommy, you're much too honest to be a politician. Well, I think that politics are really screaming for somebody honest. They really are. May not agree with everything that the person says, but honesty is important. And I really think that has to happen. Q is probably jumped up one rung on a scale from 1 to 10. I told you guys that he's probably been at about a 3. I would say he's a solid 4. He is learning certain sounds, like that we take for granted, like ST sounds and CH sounds and things like that, that if you have to learn how to do that again and what to do with your tongue to make those sounds and all that. So it's slow. And I know it's frustrating for him, but he's getting better. He really is. Keith Lego says, Tommy, true story. I heard Corey Feldman say he is running for president in the next 10 years. He was dead serious. Of course he was. I don't doubt for a hot second that he was dead serious. And the reason is that dude's delusional. He's been pretending to be a rock star for how long? There's no reason he can't pretend to be a politician. Carol says, it's kind of a part 2 question. I broke down on the phone to my son and told him everything about my niece. She was at my door at 1:30 a.m. buzzing my buzzer. Oh, what to do? Plus, my son told me not to let her in. Well, if she's just working you for cash, and you know that if you do let her in, you're just going to be enabling her to continue this, then maybe he knows what's best. It's tough. It really is. It's tough. And I have always said, like, if it's my child, tough love means I'm taking them inside, right? I'm not letting them leave, and I'm going to stay with them until they're clean. But if that's not a possibility, right? And this is, again, it's your niece or your nephew. I've had a nephew in a bad situation, and it's not my place. It's not, and that's hard. It really is. That's hard. But the other thing is, you have to know yourself. And if you can't say no to the person, there are people out there like that. I'll be really honest. There are people in my life I am really bad at saying no to. There are people in my life I am absolute shit at saying no to, and we all have those. If that's you, then don't let her in and facilitate driving that down farther, right? Tommy, I hear you. I hear your honesty about missing Reese. It makes my heart warm to hear you admit you have a soft spot. Yeah, I do. You know what, people? I've pretty much let it all hang out since I started this channel. I'm not going to stop at any point. The people who hate me are going to hate me, and they'll have ammunition to make fun videos. But the people that love me, and that group grows every day. The group that hates me, it's been the same group for 3 or 4 years, right? 2 or 3 years. So it's all good. How do you quit an addiction without admitting it to your adult children? Wow. It depends on what the addiction is. Really depends on what the addiction is. My question would be, why do you not want to admit it to your adult children? I know it's embarrassing. I know it is. The world has put so much shame on our disease, right? That if we get together to help one another on it, we need to do it anonymously. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we want to help one another, but for F's sake, don't tell anybody my name. It is that kind of a disease, right? And I'm not judging you, baby girl, I promise. But it may not be such a bad thing if they find out. Now, if there's a reason that they can't, if I know what your substance is, we could probably figure out a way for you to try to beat the addiction without your adult kids finding out. But journal about why you don't want them to find out. I think that's an interesting thing to deep dive. My kids know, and I remember wrestling with that. I remember that being really hard for me. But it is one of those things. Yarn Prepper says, Tommy, I was separated from my husband for a year before we got married when he was stationed in Greece. You got this. Indigo Twin says, did you get into drugs before or after acting? I got into drugs before everything. If you saw me in a movie, I was high. If you saw me in a, on a stage production, I was high. If you saw me as a public speaker, I was high. Any of it. That's sad but true. I definitely was partying nonstop the entire time. I had a high school student in jail for a petty crime. His roommate was an adult gang kingpin. Oh, damn. That's a frightening situation right here. Lordy Lurk says, my best friend is a heroin addict ever since the C+ math hit. I'm so sorry to hear that. I really am. I'm so sorry to hear that. If you can get them here, that would be amazing. Kestrel says, question, what inspired you to get clean for real? That's a great question, isn't it? It's a great question. I got stabbed at prison. I'd done heroin that day. I'd gotten high that day, but I got stabbed, and 7 days after I got stabbed was my birthday. On that same day, I got a Dear Tommy letter that said I want a divorce from my wife, and I was sitting in that cell, and it occurred to me that I don't have a home to go home to. I don't have. Right. I don't have any of this. I don't have the ability to do, my life is over. Right. It really is. When I walk out of here, I'm starting from absolute bone scratch. Right. And that realization sinking in all at once. And they had thrown me in a part of the prison where no one was going to get to walk by me but a cop. So I'm not getting any dope. Right. I'm in a lockdown unit. I need an inmate to walk by. Like that fool walks by, I can say, go do this, this, and this. Get me the package, and I'm going to get you money. And then I have a good reputation on the yard that they'll make that happen. But that wasn't an option. So I was going to get dope sick. And as I started doing a lot of praying. I'm not trying to run anybody off, but I did a lot of praying. And I started to do a lot of deep diving and deep searching into myself. And I was failing miserably. I wasn't any good at it. But I wanted so badly. I figured if I had to walk out and start from scratch, I better effing do it sober. Because if I ever end up back in the feds, I'm never going to get out. I don't get another shot. It'll be life in prison. So, and then when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I got transferred from one yard to the next, still trying to stay sober, not doing very well, still getting high, but trying, like journaling and trying to do the right stuff, but just failing. And then I met Q. And it just seemed like friggin' divine intervention because I'm literally praying every day, God, let me find a way to beat this. Let me find a way to beat this, right? Please, God, let me find a way to beat this. And then this black dude walks up out of nowhere. It's like, you're either the smartest dumb person, the dumbest smart person I've ever met or the smartest dumb person I've ever met, one or the other. But you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison if you don't get your shit together. And I was like, tell me about it, right? But it just seemed like it was sent from above. And the rest, as they say, is history. He will probably be back in the morning. Now I know I'm not getting any money back, but I know she must be struggling what to do. You call it strung out? She will come back tomorrow morning. Yeah. Yeah, she will. It's desperation, right? And without, no disrespect to you, but it's like putting out a saucer of milk, right? But it's way worse for a drug addict. If ever they got well, if ever they got their sickness taken care of by you, they're going to come back every single time they can, because you can't understand unless you kind of have been there, but you can't understand the relief of going from I am so sick to, oh my God, I'm well. And if somebody makes that happen for you, they're not soon to forget it. Feel me? Yeah, horrific. Barbara C says, do you think nitazines will make it into the US? I watched an Australian documentary and the fatality potential sounds awful. I did my first show on nitazines here on the Lifeboat a little over 2 years ago. At the time, I said nitazines had been found in the US. ISO or phytonitazine was found in Utah, the only place they had found it. Since then, I did another show where it had been found in 36 states already in the US. And then I did another show. It has been found in every state in the US. It is already here. It is already causing deaths. And they have to test in the person's body for nits. It's a very unusual drug, very unusual drug. So no, it's already here. And we're calling it fentanyl, I promise you. We're calling it fentanyl because we don't know any better. It does the same friggin' thing. Nobody knows any different. They know it's a hell of a lot stronger than tar, right? Hell of a lot stronger than China White. Whatever this is pretty rowdy. So everybody's just calling it fent, but it isn't fent anymore. And on top of that, they're mixing it with xylazine and making trank, which is a death sentence, man. Supermax was horrible. I was at a couple of Supermax facilities and they suck. Question: I have a 1970s Bradley Mickey Mouse watch that is not running. It won't wind. I was just playing with it and I got it to tick for a few seconds. Would it be worth it to fix? Absolutely. Absolutely it would. Absolutely it would. Well, you can never go wrong with Mickey watches. Question: does your brother like watches as well? He does. Yeah, Johnny is a collector. I gave him a beautiful birth year watch. But yeah, he's a collector. Johnny's got maybe half a dozen watches, all really. I mean, he wears a pie pan from Omega, 18 karat gold, 1966 Constellation pie pan with a crosshair dial. Is absolutely the sickest Omega you've ever seen. Miss Dragon says, I took apart my dad's that didn't work. Yeah, I'm guessing you didn't get it back together. I didn't get the first 50 I took apart back together. Maybe the first 100. I broke a lot of watches. I broke a lot of watches trying to learn. Oh my God, you just reminded me. I had a tweaker boyfriend back in the day that took all my watches apart and literally destroyed them all. Oh yeah. Don't let tweakers near watches. Holy hell. Do you know how many times people have reached out to me with a story of my kid did this to my watch? Can you fix it? And they're called basket cases. They literally send it to you in a box with all the parts. Like springs are on top of each other and wheels are just jammed in. And you gotta then try to put it back together. Called basket cases. Yeah, that's awful, Kathy. That's absolutely awful. All right, I am catching up, believe it or not. Question: do I get to see Q? I can see Q now. I now have the ability. I've been out long enough where I can see him. I have not gone back to yet. When Quibbs and I drove past Terre Haute, I called her on the phone and I said, my boy is right there. Like we could, I have to go through the process. And honestly, the first time I asked him about it, he said he's not sure if he wants to see me that way. Right. He thinks that might be really hard. And maybe he's right. That's up to him, but we'll see what happens. I'd love to see him. Space Diesel says, Tommy, thank you for keeping it solid. You have helped me a lot over these years. I'm still stuck in my rut, but I'm trying my best. Hey, you know what? Harm reduction, right? Harm reduction. Keep every day, try to make yourself a little bit further along in recovery, not sobriety. Don't get them left up. They're two different things, right? Sobriety is the complete removal of any kind of intoxicant from your life. Hey, Miss Weedlepoo, good to see you. Recovery is, you're coming back from an injury. You're coming back from something that was negative, and we're all in recovery. Every single person here is in recovery. One of your favorite songs by Death Cab for Cutie is called, that's the name of the that thing. What do you call it? The Art. That's what it's called. Do you know? Thank you on the 5x5. It's probably about 4 hours later. Do you know that I know some people that used to be in that band and then moved on to go to other bands, and they're actually a friend of the Lifeboat. One of the musicians from Death Cab for Cutie is a true member of the Lifeboat. Kimmy's Blue says, besides meeting Reese in person, what was your favorite part of the Clearwater trip? You know what? I was every person I met in Clearwater was fabulous. Plain and simple. Everybody I met in Clearwater, it was just a great crew. We all went out to dinner. Everybody was laughing. Everybody was telling stories and having a good time. It was a lot of fun. It really was. It was a lot of fun. Now, I was preoccupied as hell with meeting Tampa B and Quibbs. It was a really big deal to me to meet both of them. So that was kind of overwhelming that day because they were both such a huge part of my show. Spike says, when did you start the Lifeboat and why did you start it? I started the Lifeboat 3 years ago. In fact, 3 years ago today, I did a show on Instagram where I drank a bottle of tincture after eating a tube of terror in under a minute. Speed run of a tube of terror. If you don't know what that is, it's hell. Hottest thing you're ever going to eat. And then I drank a bottle of tincture, which is just the heat extracted from peppers. Nothing but capsaicin. I did that 3 years ago to the day to tell people I was launching my new channel, the Tommy Scoville Show, in 3 days, and I launched it on the 31st of July. We're going to be having a anniversary show, but I'm going to do it in August because I got some people that I want to bring back to the anniversary show, and I got to make sure that they're ready to do it. I started it because every time I've tried to get sober, I know I need peer support. I know I need to do what I'm doing right here. But I would walk into AA or NA, and within a couple of months, me and somebody in that room were going to get high together. Always. They would make eye contact with me on the day that I'm thinking to myself, this is bullshit. And they're thinking to themselves, this is bullshit. And we will lock eyes. It might be a girl, it might be a guy, makes no difference. What they will be is a heroin addict. And we will lock eyes and they'll give me this one. And I'll follow them outside and they'll go, you got works? Because I got dope. Inevitably, I've lost my sobriety many times that way. So when I got out of prison and they told me I had to go do those meetings, I said, take me back to prison. I'm not doing them. And my probation officer said, maybe we can come up with a different plan. So I started doing the Lifeboat, and they couldn't really argue that I was doing group therapy because I was doing it twice a day. And I think everybody assumed that once probation was over, I would stop. But this has become a very important thing to me. Okie Mom says, in prison, if you choose not to go to the chow hall, or if you choose not to leave your cell, will they bring you a tray? No, they will not. The only time they're going to bring you a tray is if you are in a lockdown unit. If not, it is your responsibility to get down there to eat and then get back. It's that simple. Miss Chicago, you can just listen, huh? That's okay. Okie Mom, you can buy stuff and eat from the commissary. I mean, you could do that. A lot of people do eat from the commissary. It's expensive. It's going to cost you hundreds of dollars a month, and you're not going to make hundreds of dollars a month in prison legally, right? Not legally, but illegally, you sure as hell can. Hey, Narcoleptic Chihuahua Productions, good to see you. Buddhist Beer, good to see you. Irrelevant Panda, good to see you. Boy, we got everybody here. Hey, Renee B. Comment, I was a bit triggered by your discussion of Reese's THC experience. Am I crazy? I want everyone's input. No, you're not crazy. If something triggers you, then something triggers you. I mean, no one can call you crazy for that. I'm triggered by Appetite for Destruction, the album from Guns N' Roses. Massive trigger for me. Makes me want to go and use. Right? It's a massive trigger for me. There's not much rhyme or reason to the things that trigger us. It's not, you don't choose for that to trigger you. I don't think it makes you insane at all. And I think it's legit, right? I'm sorry that happened. On the bright side, we'll probably be announcing it. Goosebumps would like to know how you were triggered. Q had a stroke. That's what happened to Q. Q had a stroke. And he can't speak right yet. He's learning how to speak again. Hey, Jimena, good to see you. Dangerous Journeyman. Like when it makes the 2-foot drop from your head to your heart. That surprises us every time. Yeah. Yep. Do you still have any close friends in prison? And if so, is it hard for you to go back and visit them? Shannon C., the only friend that I still have in prison is Q. There's nobody else in prison that I would call a friend. I didn't make a lot of friends in prison. I'll be really honest with you. I didn't. I didn't have a desire to. The vast majority of people in prison. Nitazines is a stronger form of opiate that it is the equivalent to opiates what crystal meth is to amphetamines. It is a bathtub painkiller. It's super easy to make, super strong. It is stronger than heroin. It is stronger than fentanyl. It's really pretty nasty stuff. Really nasty stuff. Triggers are unique for each person. I am triggered by fireworks due to prior DV issues related. Fireworks may not do that for someone else. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Hey, Anna. What triggers people? And you know what? I've had people reach out and were really bummed out by anytime that subject came up, because Quibs and I ingested THC, and a lot of people were really pissed about that. I'm not a sobriety channel. I'm sorry, I'm not. This isn't about an absence of drugs. This is about addiction. And the vast majority of people, everybody hates this, but the vast majority of people who use drugs on the planet don't get addicted to them. Honestly, more than 90% of people who use drugs will never get addicted to them. Most people use them, and it's just kind of a recreational kind of a thing. I'm not saying that's the greatest thing in the world, but I use cannabis to sleep. I am always going to. The other option is I relive that scene I was telling you about earlier, where I watched that guy get stomped to death. The difference being, it will be somebody I really love laying there getting stomped on. It won't be this convict. And I'm going to keep eating cannabis at night to make that go away. When I watched Blondie last year, that threw me for a loop. I didn't expect that to trigger me so seriously. It's really odd what triggers us. And from Massachusetts says, just a comment. Tuesday would have been my 36th anniversary, and I so wanted not to be aware. It's been 18 months since my hubby died. I live in the moment instead and made it through. We all can. I'm proud of you. And I hope you're proud of yourself, because that's hard. It really is. It's hard. Shannon says, THC gummies have helped me so much for sleep. Yeah, me too. And Quib said to me, she had smoked pot in her life. She had done meth in her life. It's not like she hadn't done drugs. And she said weed, never had a problem with weed. It was not anything that really she enjoyed either, but she was hoping to get some decent sleep because we had been working really hard, and we're sleeping in the basement of her ex-husband's house. It was creepy. It was tough. And she said, can I try one of those? And she did. And she got high as hell. She did. It was funny, really funny stuff. No one got hurt. Right? It was THC. I promise you, she's not in any danger. A lot of people get really pissed about it. People, with all due respect, it's not a drug that I'm uneducated on. It's a drug I know as much about as anybody on earth. I promise you, I've studied it. And there's a reason it's legal. If you ask me, it is 100 times safer than alcohol, which you can buy at every single corner store. I understand why it does trigger people. I would say turn it off if that's the case. I don't want anybody triggered. Indigo Twin says, I feel sympathy for addicts of opiates because they are used so often for pain medication. Truly scary how quickly addictions can happen. Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially if you have the predisposition. If you have the predisposition for addiction, you're done, right? It has your number. So when you start to take it, you're in trouble. Mary says Reese was effed up. She was. There's no question. She was effed up. She was pretty cute too. Honestly, she was pretty damn cute. I had an awful lot of fun. There's see, everybody's got some stuff that triggers them, right? Everybody's got things that trigger them. The first snowstorm, when I lived in places where it still snowed, that first snowstorm, forget about it. Like I needed to tie myself up because there was just something about the first snowstorm that always meant partying to me. It always meant, we're gonna party. It was here come the seasons. Where do I get THC gummies? I buy them at legal dispensaries, right? I live in a state where these are legal. Yes, I did close the drapes and the curtains and every other thing in there that she thought I needed to. THC makes me paranoid, said Bruce D. Yes, it does for a lot of people. It does for a lot of people. Tina Marie, I had the exact same experience. I had the exact same experience. When I started using THC for sleep, the screaming night terrors finally stopped. It's a blessing. I don't know that I screamed. The women that I slept with may be able to answer that better. I sure as shit would sit up in bed and like that kind of thing. I know I did a lot of that. I did a lot of that. Indigo Twin, you and me both. I do not use sativa. Sativa lights my brain on fire and makes me think, and I don't have a good time on it. They're two very different drugs. Even though they're the same plant, they're very, very different drugs. I'm not mad at you, Shimmy Dooby Wobby. I'm not mad at you. Now, there are people for whom THC is a nightmare. There are people for whom THC is their coping mechanism. They don't cope. They are addicts. This is how they do everything in their life. For that, I say that's a bummer. That's a bummer. I don't want that for anybody. I don't want anybody to feel like they can't get through the day-to-day trials of life without a drug. You hear me? But there are people who use alcohol and they use it, safely. I never want to bum out anybody here, so I rarely talk about it. But I don't have a problem drinking. If I go out with quibs, I'll have a Corona. If I'm feeling saucy, I might have two. But I don't drink more than that. Now, you can ask her. I don't ever drink more than that. It's just I don't like the feeling of 3 beers. Love the feeling of 2, but I do not like the feeling of 3. Spike says, FYI, if you have problems with anxiety or have issues with depression, bipolar, or have ADHD, THC might amplify it. I never had a problem with it smoking it before. My brain would not stop. You know what? Anything that you're going to do, you need to talk to your doctors about. It's something that you absolutely need to speak to a doctor about because it's massively important. Yeah, Kim Roy. The era of reefer madness was really it didn't help. It didn't help cannabis for being taken seriously at all, right? Neither did Cheech and Chong while you're bullshitting. I mean, come on, they put that movement back decades. It's funny stuff. I mean, that's what the world thought. The world thought people really got that high, like you couldn't speak and all of that. And, how it looked dangerous as hell. Like people were smoking that stuff and being in our environment. That's scary. But it's really kind of not that way. You know what? I know we've all seen or heard the 911 call of the cop that took home the weed from the evidence locker and they cooked it into brownies. Have you ever heard this? If not, you can Google it. It's a pisser. They call up and the guy says, what seems to be the problem? And he's just real honest. I'm a cop. I took this stuff from the evidence locker and we cooked it up, made brownies, and now I think I might be dead. I think this may have killed me. Like he's just serious as a heart attack, and he thinks that stuff may have actually killed him, right? But yeah, I get a kick out of that. I really do. Laura Lou says Snoop Dogg seems chill and happy. Yeah. Oh, I'm with you, Shannon C. I can't party on the stuff. Oh, I couldn't smoke a joint. There's no way. I'd get weird and paranoid. I promise you, I wouldn't have a good time. But eating it, and I don't eat it with the intent of staying up. I don't ever fight it. I eat it and I go to sleep. So it works out for me. But you shouldn't be doing anything if you don't talk to a doctor, especially if you're on any other kind of medication. You hear me? Especially if you're on any other kind of medication, or if you've had any other kind of diagnoses. It's not something to fought around with. It's your brain. It's pretty serious shit. It's your brain. So be careful always. And that said, what people said, would you ever do that again and film it? Not here, I wouldn't. Right? I would probably do it on Cults and Crims. I probably would. I think it would be funny. And, I would put a big ass trigger warning up there for that reason. I think the distinction is if you are looking for a solution, that means you have a problem. If your thought process is looking for fun, enjoyment, and considered it well, it's different. Sarah, yes. But there are people who start out with the best of intentions exactly like that. If your predisposition to drug addiction is there, if that's there, then you've got you got issues. Kristen Melinda does this very often on my shows, and usually toward the end of the show. Kristen Melinda puts up the best quote of the night. Whenever I said that the best quote of the night was, "It's pretty serious shit. It's your brain." If that's the best one of the night, it'll tell you how this show went. I got THC. I got in bath bombs to calm me, but I'm on diazepam. That's Valium. I'm on a lot of medication from a doctor for my heart, blood thinners for the rest of my days. But I asked my doctor, how long have I got to be on? Well, we're going to get to the second half of that. Pastor Shaming says, I would try THC as medication, but not as recreation. Well, I did a crap ton of it as recreation. But then I took a lot of time off. I hadn't smoked in decades. And I smoked in prison and did not have a good time at all. Terrible time. And I was really kind of, I didn't want to try THC for sleep. Not just because of that, but because of you guys. Like I thought, I'm going to get a lot of crap if I decide that I'm going to use a drug. I'm the captain of the lifeboat or the admiral of the lifeboat. This is going to cause problems. And then I just got to a point where I'm like, you know what? It's ridiculous. If somebody else were asking me the same question, I would say, of course, do it. Right. So why wouldn't I say it to myself? What it comes down to is because there's just so many assholes who literally are perched. On the bright side, I can do the math, and these people have made me a fortune over the time they've been. But they just sit and watch every single show, waiting for something that they can go off on. They love the fact that if I'm doing something, they love calling me a junkie and everything else on the side. I definitely talked to doctors, and they found antidepressants that work with the weed I take. I can always talk to my doctors before changing something or adding something. Indigo Twin, you have good doctors. That's a medical team, right? That is a medical team. Nice. And from Massachusetts said, I found I have reactions to some of the terpenes in some strains of weed. So there are certain strains I can take in gummy form, and some are just fantastic. A quarter dose will tell me every time. As far as we're going, the gummies I buy are a name brand gummy. I mean, the cannabis is Granddaddy Perps is the stuff that I buy for sleep. Did I keep the kit? Did I keep the kit? I'm not sure if I know what that question means. I'm not very bright. Yeah, the gummies do taste like true gummies. Um, yeah, look, back in the day when people made pot brownies, a lot of times there was actually pot in the brownies. Like people didn't understand the concept at all. It was pretty awful. It's not like that anymore. The people that are making the products are really damn good at it. Yeah, they taste fantastic. You know what? Passenger shaming, you're 100% right, and I appreciate that. Kathy says, I won't lie. I overdid it at the Rolling Stones concert in May, and I only had 3 tokes. Yeah, I'm telling you. It's, while we took our time off, oh, the kitten from next door. The neighbor's going to keep the kitten from next door. Didn't see that coming, did you? She's decided she's going to keep it. While we've been taking off all of this time from weed, right? It's been getting stronger. Like they've been genetically engineering this crap. It isn't the drug that you used to do. I promise you. It's not the drug you used to do. It ain't your dad's weed. I promise. Absolutely, Sarah. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Kristen Melinda says, over a decade ago when I used to partake of THC, it was typically as a sleep aid. Ambien makes people do way scarier things. And you ain't lying. I've watched some crazy crap happen on Ambien. Hey, forward looking. Just arrived. Been busy for seemingly months. It is my screen, or are you, or have you colored your brows? Nope, I have not. I have not colored my brows. I think what you're seeing is I used to color everything, right? I used to color everything, and now I don't color anything. So that could be what it is. So that could be. My addiction wasn't drugs or alcohol, but gambling. Still the same principle. Thought it was fun, but it was ruining me. I'm 3.5 years abstinent now with a lot of regrets for what I did. Well, we're gonna have to get over that, man, right? You got to move on from that because it can kill you. It can kill you, and you can spend so much time with that regret dragging you down, bro. You're trying to sail with an anchor. You got to pull that in. You really do. The decisions you made sucked, right? But you were on drugs. That may not make sense to you, but you were. The gambling gets your brain to release the same chemicals that blow does. For real. No different. So yeah, you were working on a pretty good brain chemical cocktail. Here comes squirrel. So that's kind of where yeah, I don't think you should still be beating yourself up on it. Come on, squirrel nut zipper. Give it a hop up there. Um, I'm not ruling out anything, Cricket. I'm not ruling out anything. Um, I shouldn't say that. There's a bunch of stuff I'm ruling out, but no, I'm willing to look into anything. So I don't know enough about it. Full disclosure. So I would need to look into it. Yeah, Sarah. When I was doing Colts and Crims last night with Quibble, the neighbor came by to ask me if this was my cat, and I said no. My cat is inside. It's very very hot. And then she came back and said, I'm going to keep the cat overnight. Do you have any cat food? I said, absolutely. And I gave her a cup of cat food. And I was laughing about it last night because if you keep a cat overnight, you're going to keep the freaking cat. Like who gives back a cat after you keep it overnight? So I saw her today and she's decided she's going to keep this kitty. She said, the cat's so sweet. I said, of course it is. Cat's happy to be in air conditioning. I'm sure it's loving you. Carol Stewart says, these drugs for, and can come off of them. No, but she says no to my niece was taking my meds. There we go. I finally had admitted about the diazepam. Sorry, guys, for hiding that, but I've been on them a long time. You know what? There's a stigma around it, right? Telling us you're on Valium, right? Telling us you're on Valium means that you're going to open yourself up for all of that judgment that you've always felt from society. You do happen to be in a judgment-free zone, which is cool. Nobody's going to crap on you for what you do here. Shannon says, I work with my pain clinic team to do a low dose of THC along with the other meds I'm on. Always want to make sure my whole team is on the same page. Good for you, man. You hear that? You know what, Rick Spicer? I respect that. Rick says, I never thought I could quit. I have made my own strains, but it's smoke or live. I chose live, my own battle. I love that. I really do. The hat may bring out the caramel color. That could be. There you go. A little bit. I should dye them though, because that way when I do when I throw up the eyebrow, you know, the one that says whatever I'm telling Quibble's probably a lie. When I go, yeah, we don't need to worry about that. You know, that one looks better if it's a little darker. But no, I have not dyed it. But Ambien had that cute butterfly on the commercials. No, it didn't. That was Lunesta. Come on, get your sleepers right. That was Lunesta that had the cool butterfly. That was a great show. Great show. Barney Miller was a great show. And I remember the episode you're talking about. Wojciechowicz was wasted. Chrissy Akers, yes, I have had sleep apnea in the past, and I had the doctors took a laser and just removed everything that was in the back of my throat. Just cut it all out. The only thing I have left is the uvula, the whole thing that hangs down. My tonsils are gone. They made the throat wider. No, the sitting up in bed is from a really horrific nightmare that was a recurring thing until I started eating cannabis. Indigo Twin says, I'm currently on Prozac and it changed my life. I was on Zoloft before in my 20s and helped to regulate my CPTSD. If it's working for you, fantastic, right? Everything is a little different for each person, right? What works for one person doesn't work for another. I'm so happy to hear it's working for you. That's awesome. Chicken Cherry Cola, good to see you. Glad you are here. There you go. I love that. Fibro sucks, but can we get some ones for all of my fellow warriors? And, you know, I have always said here on the boat that I have mad respect and I have mad sympathy for women who are suffering with fibromyalgia because there are still a lot of people that don't believe that this is a real thing. And I remember those days with addiction. A test is coming for fibro. They haven't figured it out yet, but a test is coming, I promise. Marcus messaged me from his tablet in ASPC Kingman and says to say hi. He can't wait to join us all. I love that. I love that. I really do. And I love the fact that he'll have a support group when he gets out. It's massive. It really is. It's massive. Mary says, I have fibromyalgia. Well, a bunch of you have fibromyalgia, and it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Right? This is a channel where we talk about pain and we talk about treating pain and the difference between, being addicted and being dependent, and the difference between needing it and, Yarn Prepper also has fibromyalgia. And Laura Lou says, Paxil is my life changer. It's why I know you have to try more than one thing to find what works. You know how I can tell you? Because Paxil did not work for me. Prozac did not work for me. Zoloft, everything you guys have just mentioned for me were nightmares. Nightmares. But I'll tell you the one that worked for me, and you'll go, oh my God, it's a nightmare. Well, Butrin was the one that worked for me. But you have to be willing to work with your doctor. And if you're not writing stuff down in a journal, how do you even know if the stuff's working? You need to journal. You need to journal. I'm going to start being mean about it. You really need to journal. Space cake. Yes, Chrissy Akers. God help us. Yeah, isn't that awful? Isn't that awful? Now, look, let's keep it real. Are there women out there that walk in and say they got fibro because they want to get dope? There are. Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that's the majority of them. But there's always going to be people who claim to have something, especially if you can't test for it. And then because of that, doctors end up seeing a bunch of people that are not genuine. And it makes them treat all of the people that actually have the problem as if they've done something wrong. It sucks. I I feel for everybody that has it. I really do. Question: what was the hardest thing? Let's see. Question: what was the hardest thing to adjust to when you were released from prison? You know what? This is a really easy question. Believe it or not, you would think that this might be hard. This is not. This is a really, really easy question. So I'll say that whites and blacks don't hang out and they don't talk um, in prison. It's not. There's not a lot of talking that goes on between them, but there is a tremendous amount of respect between them. There's a tremendous amount of respect with everybody. There really is. Nobody wants to get into a knife fight, right? Nobody wants to get stabbed. Nobody wants to rock the boat. So you will hear, excuse me, pardon me, that kind of thing more in prison than you will ever hear it on the street. More people will go out of their way to treat you with dignity and respect in prison than they do on the street. And there are just like unwritten rules. Like if you're on line for something, no one would ever stand a foot behind you. And I remember getting out of federal prison the first time, and the first thing I did was go to an ATM machine because they give you your money on a card. And I didn't trust them. I wanted the money off the card. So I went to an ATM machine and I put it in the machine. And I'm not kidding you. A guy walked up behind me this far. He's this far behind me. And I'm punching numbers in to get money out. And I turned around and looked at him and went, are you stupid? Honestly, like you're close enough to look over my shoulder. How about backing up 3 or 4 feet? And apparently I didn't say it particularly nicely. And I was married at the time, and my wife was like, what are you doing? You can't talk to people like that. I'm like, well, what is that moron doing? You know what I mean? No one would ever do that. Like after 13 years, you really expect you come out and there's very little respect out here. There really isn't. There's very little respect. And that was the hardest thing for me to get used to. It's pretty, yeah. That's definitely the hardest thing, without a doubt. ATM machines, anywhere where you're in line, people just they have absolutely no respect for anybody. People don't say excuse me, things like that. I mean, they would never make it inside. Someone would punch him to death in the first 2 minutes. You've been waiting to hear my take on Diddy. It was interesting to hear my take on Masterson. I've done about 5 or 6 videos on Diddy. I did the first one a long time ago, really a long time ago. And when I did, I said, I'm doing this because I am of the firm belief that this dude is doing the exact same thing that Jeffrey Epstein was. Tommy Scoville at gmail.com, WP. Tommy Scoville at gmail.com. That's the best one to send it to be sure. My philosophy is everyone gets a baseline level of respect. And then based on their behavior, it increases or decreases, but everyone gets manners. I agree with you. I mean, that's how it is supposed to be, but it just isn't. And the other thing that's really hard to get used to is there's a way to guarantee that you get into a fight with someone in prison, right? There are 2 words. If you utter either of those words to somebody, if you call them a punk or you call them a bitch, it's a fist fight instantly. Because if they don't fight you, they're going to fight the entire prison because you will be labeled you got no heart, and they'll get rid of you instantly. If somebody says those things to you, you have to fight. And it's really odd because when you get out into the real world, people throw those words around all the time. Like you'll hear guys refer to each other like back off, bitch, things like that. And every time I hear it, it's like my heart skips 2 beats, right? Because for 13 years, if I heard that, it was usually followed pretty closely afterwards, with the sound of knuckles bouncing off of people's skulls, because it just is never, ever uttered without a fist fight. and it's used all the time out here. That's really kind of different too. Took about a year to get used to that. One tough chick says, or some people have no sense of personal space. I know I don't, but I do understand that most people are bothered by intrusions into their personal bubble. That's the truth. And it's, hey, Trish Ryan, good to see you. It's kind of a different thing, because inside it's very much a different thing. You everything inside runs on respect. Everything. It really does. Enemies treat each other with incredible amounts of respect. There are gangs in there that don't get along, but will coexist. I did 13 altogether. I did not do a 13-year stretch. I did 13 altogether. It was the first one was a really short sentence of only about 14 months. The where it got long was the last one. The last one was 90 some odd months. Tommy, our friend, who is also a talented writer and doing the Lord's work in prison, wants a female friend to write letters to while he's in prison. How do I find someone? There's a site you can go to called Pen Pals Behind Bars or something along those lines. And it's a service that does exactly that. They will just get you pen pals. And it is legit. It's not a BS service. It's absolutely legit. I know a bunch of guys inside that did it. I did not, but I knew a bunch of guys inside that did. Because when I went in on the bank robberies, I had a wife, right? And she left me during the second sentence. But I wasn't really ready to jump back into to anything else after that one. In fact, I thought for the most part I was done. Right? I really thought for the most part I was done. But world's got an unusual way of throwing you curveballs. As soon as you feel like you know what's going on, right? Man makes plans, God laughs. How does that go? Something like that. I know that there are the C plus math is we're hearing about more cases again, but I think that that's probably because we get flare ups this time of year, right? And I think this is going to be with us for a hot minute. This is one of the new strains of fluid. It's going to be around for a hot minute. Yeah, and then Quibs came on the scene and just. Yep, you never know, right? You just never know what the future holds. Just keep doing the right thing, right? What does punk mean in prison? My son is proud of being a punk. Oh, on this outside, you mean? He used to rock a mean mohawk with tartan pants and a very staunch set of values. Okay, yeah, that's what it is on the outside. Like you probably really groove to the Ramones, right? Black Flag, right? The Sex Pistols. I get it. The inside, what it means is that you take the female role inside prison for guys who are never going to see a woman again. The punks become the women for those men. So when you call someone a punk, you're basically It's another way to say bitch is what it is, but it's a little nastier. Yeah, life is what happens when you're busy making plans. Thank you, Mo Love. That sounds more like it. Yeah, absolutely. C plus math is what we say instead of the that thing that went around when we all had to wear the masks. So if you say that word, right? It had the number 19 after it. You say that word and they will bury your video. I mean, bury it. No one will see it. Not even your members will see it. They do not like that word in videos. So back when it was really flaring up, I used to call it the C plus or 18 plus one. We just screwing around, and one day someone said the C plus math, and that kind of stuck. which is how kind of everything happens on the lifeboat. Somebody says something funny and then it kind of sticks. I had it. I had it once. I filmed it. I filmed the whole thing. You have that word right now, third time and worst ever. I'm sorry to hear that. Thoughts and prayers for my friend Lisa. I love Lisa. Yeah. You know what, WP? They really can be. In their defense, when the pandemic was going on, you got any idea how many jackwagons were making content that was just stupid? I mean, there were content creators out there that, you know, people were looking for information. They were really starved for information. And it was an easy way to make a lot of money. If you just started putting that word into a lot of your videos, people would come and watch it, and people were getting paid. But there was a lot of misinformation and a lot of BS, and it wasn't good. So that's kind of that's how that went down. Mike, just Mike. Kicking it in here and fighting the meds. Okay. Yeah, it got really weird, people. It really did get really weird. But unfortunately, that's kind of how it went down. I wasn't feeling well one day recently. I was asked by so many people if I took a F test. Why? Right? You know what? Sweet tea, I always said the same thing. You know, you should go get the test. I'm like, and do what? What if I test positive? What's the difference going to be? Right? I'm going to treat myself the same way. So why would I go out and go through all that? Ah, the in-laws seem to be in good moods. This could be a fun distraction. Wharton, I love you. You're formally Sir Michael. Okay. And backed off to Mike, just Mike. Well, I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're here. And names do change, right? It happens. This channel started off as the Tommy Scoville Show. I hated that. Da-da-da. 5 a.m. in the UK. I love the audience on the other side of the pond. I really do. Absolutely love the audience from the UK. We got a lot of people from the UK, which, as I always say, just goes to show you that they're all on drugs. I'm kidding. There's a lot of people who come to the boat for a lot of other reasons too. But this is everything that we're doing. There's nothing unique to this country. I hope that it's not something that ever crosses anyone's mind. I don't care what country you are in. The drugs that are tearing up the U.S. are now going all over the world. This isn't an accident. It really isn't. This isn't an accident. And do you know how you can tell this isn't an accident? Hey, Jenny D, because there's no chance in hell that a drug dealer continues to make their product stronger, even if it's killing the customer base. Trust me, I know a lot of people that moved a lot of weight in my life. And if the product starts killing people, you're in Athens, Greece, Jenny D. Oh man, that's exciting. We really are all over the place. This is this channel has really kind of it has grown in a unique way. But over 30% of our audience is now outside the U.S. And I love that. I really do. I love that. How very cool, Jenny D. I love that. In Greece. Yeah, that Tampa B says, Coolio, just what I was thinking. Just what I was thinking. Panda Kelly says, Tommy, was your brother ever in prison? My brother was never in prison. I'm not going to lie to you. My brother did enough dirt to go to prison. My brother did a lot of dirt. There's a book coming out that'll probably go into a lot of that. In fact, it's almost done, according to Johnny. Yeah, but Johnny did a lot of crime. He did a lot of crime with me. but he never did the bank robberies. I did the bank robberies I did without I never had a partner. I was the lone, the lone bank robber. I don't trust anybody. If I've learned anything in my life, it's that people can't keep a secret, especially in the real world, right? Especially in the real world. Inside prison, you can find some people that'll keep their mouth shut. They really will. But there are still rats inside too. Make no mistake. Every prison's got rats in it. Every one of them. There are guys that got caught with dope and they don't want to deal with the consequences. So they start telling on inmates, and it's a scummy nature of the beast, I guess. Nature of the beast. Who would think that criminals would turn on one another? You'd think that they'd be a lot more solid than that, wouldn't you? No, Johnny definitely got his life in order and tightened it up, and when he was doing that, I went off the rails. That's when I started to go hit banks and do the more serious crimes. But I robbed a bunch of them. Did I stash any money for when I got out? Well, if I did, I probably wouldn't mention it here. No Face, good to see you. That's right. I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm sure I have no idea what you're talking about. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Your adorable, much-loved Yorkie mix started attacking for no reason. I'm recovering from emergency surgery right now. You're kidding me. We have to give him back. I'm heartbroken. Please pray for his safety. Yeah, I am so sorry to hear that. How bizarre. Mock, there is honor among thieves. There really is. But it's limited. It's limited. I knew some people that rode their sentence out and didn't tell on anybody. And I mean, I knew guys that went to prison for 30 years. I knew a guy that went to prison who thought he was going to get the death penalty, and he still didn't tell anybody. And there are those people out there, but man, they're few and far in between these days. I remember when I was going in the last time, my attorney said 75% of the people in there are for cut deals. 75%. And I was like, there's no way that's the truth, man. There's no way that's the truth. But it is. It is, because everybody's terrified. The feds, nobody beats the feds. Nobody beats the feds. Melissa May says, today I am 10 months sober. Wow. 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 Closing in on that 1 year mark. You've got to be happy about that. Yeah, you know what? This is a really smart comment. It really is. That's a pretty intelligent comment if you think about it. So scared for young people these days. How do they get through puberty and all of the dumb stuff without dying from it? I talked to my granddaughter about it, but it's, you know what? It is crazy. Here's the thing. You got to talk to anybody you can who's in that. If you have anyone in your life who has any shot whatsoever of buying drugs out of the ecosystem that we're in right now, right? Because the supply chain for drugs in this country is tainted. We have a bad drug supply. It's tainted. It's killing. It's the number one cause of death in this country. And the drug dealers are making it stronger. As we catch the next batch, it's always stronger than the previous one. Why would you continue to do that if you know you're killing your customers? They can't pay you. Right? No way they're going to pay you if they're dead. Does not make any sense. It's a terrible business model. Terrible business model, unless you're not in it for business. Unless you're trying to destroy a society, in which case, go with it. And I promise you that that's exactly what's going on. This is undermining our society in a way that you just cannot imagine. Really. This stuff is getting put into everything. You buy the Bolivian marching powder, right? The stuff you snot up your nose. If you buy that stuff, there's an excellent chance that it has fent in it. And anybody who's done drugs goes, why would you put fent in the blow? That makes no sense, right? They don't even go in the same direction. It doesn't matter. The blow is probably not real either. It's a synthetic fake. Everything is now fake. Tampa B says there's always more customers. Well, and I mean, in all honesty, normally they don't want to bring the heat down on themselves, but I think they're way beyond that. I think they're way beyond that. West Coast Fancy Nancy, the only explanation that makes sense is this isn't about making money. It has nothing to do with making money. This is them trying to undermine our society and a lot of other free societies. Israel is destroyed right now with fentanyl. Absolutely destroyed. Probably worse than America. Israel is really going through it with fentanyl. And go figure, one of our biggest allies, right? They are targeting. Think about it. If we were to have to go to war, 18 to 50, right? The number one cause of death from 18 to 50 is drug overdose. If you had to mobilize an entire force, you'd be looking at ages 18 to 50, right? Yeah, they can fake the numbness. They can fake everything. They can absolutely fake everything, but they're adding this stuff to everything. And unfortunately, it can kill you. It can very easily kill you. And it used to be that people like me would overdose, right? Guys that were doing dope their whole life. And you figure, you know what? Well, sorry for Tommy, but the dude's been doing 6 grams of heroin a day his entire life. Eventually it's going to get him. And we always kind of had that feeling. Even if we lost a friend, we'd go, it sucks, but dude's been doing dope for how long, right? Eventually, this had to happen. And he's probably, tomorrow morning, he doesn't have to get up and try to go get dope. And that's usually the kind of conversations that people would have. Nowadays, it isn't junkies. Nowadays, it's people that are experimenting with drugs for the first time, or somebody that's, just trying to buy, a little dope because they're, or some pills because they're in pain or whatever. Mock says it's also stupid to get a spotlight on yourself because the soccer mom dies in the parking lot from a bad cocktail. And this is exactly the point I was making. But if you don't care, if that's not what you're there for. Yeah, Nicola Mac. I mean, he says, Tommy, it is everywhere. They are trying to kill people, population control, and the evil in this world at this minute is terrifying. I agree with you. Fentanyl is the new crack. They got to get rid of us somehow, go for the lowest hanging fruit. No, I think that there's a lot to this. They certainly don't care about us, the drug addict. They do not care. I promise you they do, right? Because this would have been pretty easy to do something about. Honest to God. I mean, they've known about this, about how bad this has been for a really, really long time. But both parties will fight over this because they don't want to give the other side a win. They'll let 100,000 people a year overdose on this shit because the left doesn't want to give the right a win and the right doesn't want to give the left a win. Beautiful, isn't it? Friggin' beautiful. Lily Benjamin says, I find a nice car ride with the young people in my life works well. Can avoid eye contact and start with, where are you getting your weed? What else are you using? They talk. They've seen things. Absolutely. If you don't make them feel like, I've done shows on this. I've done tons of shows on how to talk to kids about this stuff. I really have. I've done tons of shows about it. Don't make it worse than it is. Don't tell them that just touching one of these pills is going to kill them, because then they're going to watch somebody take a bag out. Dude's going to take about 30 pills out, hand them to somebody. He's going to take more out, hand them to somebody else. And they're going to watch him hand bang these pills for 15 minutes, right? And they're going to go, yeah, mom and dad lied. Yeah, touching it's going to kill you. I've been watching him roll them in his fingers for how long? No, man, I've been lied to. Once you lose credibility, anything else you say sounds like BS too. You just tell them the truth. And the truth is, this is the number one cause of death in this country, right? You wouldn't let your kid drive your car without putting him through driver's education. But we'll send them off to school, and they are about 50 times more likely to die from a drug overdose than they are a car crash now. How weird is that? Yeah, sweet tea, there's some truth to this. I mean, back in the day, and there are people who have gone to prison for this. There were guys in the feds for this kind of stuff where when they go to put, they were making out the powdered folds, right? They would poison one of them. They would guarantee that one of them was going to cause an overdose because it was the greatest advertisement for that brand of dope in the world. And in the powdered stuff, they put a stamp on it, right? So you would hear it on the news. They'd write it in the newspapers. You got to be careful. There's stuff going around, and it says, blue magic or blue thunder on it, right? But it's killed one person or it's killed two people, and they do that intentionally so that everyone else wants to buy the blue thunder, and they will. Hey, I want that stuff that killed the two people last night, because every junkie thinks, well, my habit's different. It's not going to kill me, right? I've never overdosed. Everyone makes money except for the people that die and the families that lose their loved ones. Yeah, and unfortunately now there's nobody in this country that hasn't been touched by it. Good night, LaShaw. Have a good evening. We're in a pretty ugly spot. We really are. But I'll tell you something, people. The election is coming up. This is my only issue. I promise you, this is my only issue. The candidate that gives a way better presentation on what they're going to do to stop fent and nitazines from being literally on every single street corner in the United States for about $1.50 a freaking pill. We need to figure out what's going on with that. And that's what I'm most concerned about. Really is what I'm most concerned about. I don't have any friends left. I don't. Right? Jack's it. Everyone else is dead. Every person I ever met, right? They're all gone. And that's not an accident. It really isn't. They're targeting this part of the society. Mock says, my dad made it uncool by being as open and saying, if you want to try, at least know the source well enough, what they cut it with, kept me from trying it. Well, I know it's really a beautiful point. It is a beautiful point. Being super open and super honest with your kids. My son smoked pot, right? My son never did heroin. My son never went down that road. Didn't experiment with that, which is a beautiful thing. It really is. It's a beautiful thing. But every time he experimented with anything, he told me about it. Swear to you, every time. He would call and we'd have a conversation about it, and I would tell him the pitfalls of that drug and what he had to be careful about. And he always called, always. And I love the fact that there was a communication there. I would hang up the phone in tears. I really would. It sucked. It sucked, and I wanted to scream at him, but I didn't. And you know what? He's still here, and he's sober, so I feel like things went pretty well, truthfully. But it's there's nothing more important right now than talking to people in your life who have a shot at doing drugs. They really need to understand that if it doesn't come out of a pill bottle that you got yourself at a pharmacy, you cannot do it. You cannot do it. The customers are getting younger, Becky Lynn, and they don't need to know a dope dealer anymore. You used to have to know somebody. You had to know a connection. Not anymore, because these people are on all of the social media platforms, right? If you're on Instagram and you've been there for any length of time, somebody probably already sent you one of these pages where they're showing you all the drugs that they're selling, just like it's a post, all the drugs that they're selling, how they can get in there, how you pay, they'll drop it off. Nuts. Absolute nuts. You know what, Miss Sunrise Dawn? He is an awesome young man. He absolutely is an awesome young man. And he's getting better by the day. I'm pretty happy about that. Yeah, it's a scary time to be alive, especially if you're doing drugs. But I've said a million times the war on drugs is lost. We already know that, right? So just make sure you win the battle. Make sure that your kids don't overdose. Make sure that your nieces and nephews don't overdose. Any of those people, make sure that there's that they know and that they don't overdose, right? And even if we lose the war, you won the battle. It's not going to bother you nearly as much. And if every parent had that plan, we'd actually win the war on drugs because we'd be attacking it from the demand side instead of the supply side, right? How are you going to stop the war on drugs? Well, when people aren't trying to buy dope from everybody on every street in America, it's going to be a whole hell of a lot better. But right now, we are the biggest drug consumers on the planet by a crap load, right? We do a lot of drugs. So sad I'm aging, but glad I came of age in the 80s. Yeah, me too. Me too. If I had come at any other time, right? I wouldn't have made it. I definitely would have been dead. With the supply that's in here right now, we'd be dead. I guarantee it. I was very, very lucky to have been an 80s baby, to be sure. Really, really lucky. 70s baby, right? Grew up in the 80s. Yeah, I think everybody here, all the Gen X 80 kids are going, yeah, pretty lucky. We could experiment, right? You could do drugs and experiment on drugs and not think, someone here is probably going to die. If 8 of us are experimenting with this, statistically, there's a pretty good chance somebody's going to die. That's terrifying. Yeah, Tampa Bay. I agree. All righty, people. We're going to be back tomorrow, right? Class of 84 there. That's the same class as Johnny Scoville. Class of 84. My brother's class. I was class of 88. Right? One of the worst drug classes in the. And honestly, there's been documentaries made about the class of 88. These doesn't matter what part of the country, they seem to all have a real serious drug problem. A lot of people. This is what happened, people. There was a misunderstanding a couple of days back. If you're on every single one of the shows here, then you probably know what I'm talking about. Somebody in the comment section asked if I wanted to work with them. I said, shoot me an email, right? And the person thought that I was getting ready to do a collab, and they went and put up a thumbnail that said doing a collab with Tommy Scoville. And boy, the earth came to a freaking halt. The number of people that reached out to me to not just say, hey man, you can't do this. I mean, a little frightening. True story. Like very, very insistent. And I understand people get passionate about things. Truthfully, I wasn't sure who the person was, but that's neither here nor there. I love you guys, right? I mean, I really do. I love you guys. But I get the feeling, I'm one interview away from being your least favorite person. For real. It's an uncomfortable feeling too, to think that, you know what, you kind of got to tap dance to exactly what the tune that's going is, or everybody bails. That's an uncomfortable feeling. I won't lie to you. It's an uncomfortable feeling. So anyway, it's kind of it had me sitting there going, damn. And then I start journaling, and you know what, you get in your head, man. You really do. You start getting in your head, and I start trying to work through it and work my way out. And I reached out to a couple of people in my 5, because this is what you do. Trips Captain, good to see you. Because this is what you do when you start feeling like you're out on the edge, the other edge. Hello, Amy Edge, not that one. But when you're feeling like you're out on the edge and you're not, maybe the journaling's not getting it done, right? I wasn't in danger of sticking anything in my arm, but I was definitely in danger of not being in a good headspace. So you start to reach out to some of the people in your 5. And the first one that I reached out to, before I even had an opportunity to tell them what was going on, jumped down my throat. Am I to understand you're doing a collaboration? I went, holy shit. That's no, right? Never talked to anybody, never did anything, but holy hell. Boy, you get a real idea just how fast people would flip out on you. Jam, good to see you. Holy hell. I'm telling you. So I'm sitting there, then it's worse. Now you're sitting there going, you know what? If I call the next one on the list, is the same thing going to happen? It's so I journaled. You know, I spent a decent amount of the day journaling. Actually, it's one of those things. But I'm not going to get into the merits of any of it, of why people. Because honestly, I didn't follow any of this crap. I really didn't. I didn't know any of the players involved until you may not believe that. I really was not following any of this stuff. I really wasn't. But anyway, let's get back to this coping thing. You understand that in the real world, ideally, sometime between the ages of about 8 and 15, right? Different for boys and girls. But we start to develop the tools that we're going to use when something like that happens. When you start feeling some kind of way, right? When you start feeling some kind of way, like, this is kind of a bummer, man, right? If the coping, right? In a perfect world, you have coping skills and you sit down and you journal, right? Or you go through all of these things and you kind of got a checklist. Problem is, most people don't think about this, honestly. Most people don't think about it in terms of, okay, how do I cope when the shit hits the fan? Instead, they wait until the crap is hitting the fan, and then their blood pressure goes up. They kind of walk back and forth, their hands doing this one, and they really have no idea what the game plan is. And this happens all the time. But you know what? That sucks if you're one of us. Feel me on this? We don't have the luxury of pulling that kind of crap. The rest of the world can do that because if they fail 4 or 5 times over the course of a month, they're going to go, geez, I better tighten up my game. If we fail 4 or 5 times over the course of a month, there's a really decent chance we're going to dive back into whatever our vicious habit was. Doesn't have to be drugs, doesn't have to be alcohol, it could be sex, right? Could just be being an ass. I'm not even kidding. I had somebody reach out and say to me, I think what I'm really trying to quit is I think I'm a bit of an asshole. Which, hey, self-aware is a pretty beautiful thing. Actually, it's a pretty good person too. Hey, Shauna B. And Susie in Paradise says, heathen or heathens, both are correct. I like the word heathenry. Heathenry? Okay, it's I like it. You got a 5, says somebody. Hold on. You got a 5. I can't find a 1 to be there for me. Well, Mara, I did have the advantage of starting this thing. So from the very beginning, I was working with a lot of people. At one time, I think I probably had 40 or 50 instead of 5. And I ended up working with some of the first people that I worked with back in the beginning and people that I really have spent a lot of time and effort with. But you're probably not going to get it here. There really is one of the great ways to do it is to put a post up, right? In one of the other platforms, like over in Discord, or do it over in the Facebook group that says, private message me. I'm looking for people for my 5, and people will private message you. It's kind of a cool thing. Comment. Several people on Reese's live earlier said they had a dream about her. Well, I had a dream about you. You were advising me on some stuff. Well, how about that? Somebody last week told me that I was in one of their dreams, and I think it kind of makes sense if you think about what we do. I mean, we spend a lot of time, right? We spend a lot of time, and we tickle parts of the brain that maybe don't get tickled all the time. I dig cat videos, but if you sit here and watch what we do here, you're probably going to start maybe using different parts of the brain than the cat videos. Shannon Smith, I love you. That's a very kind thing to say. Why, thank you. You know something? That's very kind as well. Here's the deal. Lucinda, good to see you. I'm not bummed out. I really am not. Well, I'm just going to use this as a teaching lesson because it does actually make a lot of sense with what we're talking about today. Mom, good to see you. Becca Jean. So here's what happens, people. I'm sitting around, right? And I'm thinking about this and I'm starting to obsess about it, right? And you're like, boy, I got a lot of people that follow the channel. How many would these are ridiculous thoughts. You understand this? These are ridiculous thoughts. These are the thoughts of a drug addict. These are the thoughts of somebody who spent their entire life with ants tearing them apart. But I'm sitting on the couch going, are they fans? Or is it just an echo chamber? And you start going down through, and man, I don't run an echo chamber here. I don't. but you don't get logical. You start going down that rabbit hole, right? You start spinning. And the next thing you know, right? The first level of coping is out the freaking window, right? That one exploded. That's not going to work. Now you got to go to whatever phase 2 is. Phase 2 was I was going to start calling people in my 5. Sadly, that didn't go too well either, right? And it set me off more. I'm not good at this, people. I'm not any better than anyone else. Hello, Kathy Santoni. So it set me off a little bit more. And I start sitting there going, damn it, right? This seems to be a popular sentiment. And now I'm really starting to get into my feelings. So now what? What's the next step? Well, for me, the next step is getting out of the room that I'm in, getting out of the environment I'm in. If I'm not in a room, if I'm standing with people outside, I'm going to get away from those people, right? I'm going to get away from this keyboard. I'm going to get away from everything. And that's exactly what I did, right? I got outside. I walked the hell away from here and stopped looking at the same 4 walls and started looking at some of the most beautiful scenery that Arizona has to offer. I also started breathing in different air. I started seeing all the kinds of stuff, and the heat, right, from the sun on my skin. All of a sudden, I'm getting the ever loving crap kicked out of my senses. And when all of your senses are tingling, when all of your senses are working overtime, literally, like just getting obliterated with cool stuff to look at, smell, right, hear, feel. When you're out there and you're in that moment, I promise you're going to forget whatever was pissing you off. You are. And it didn't take, like, I didn't have to walk 2 hours out and walk back. I mean, I didn't get to the bottom of my driveway, which admittedly is a pretty gnarly driveway. But by the time I got to the bottom of my driveway, whatever the hell I was upset about was gone. But it's so easy, right, to stay in our little bubble and get really pissed off, right, and not have an opportunity to shake it off. The other day, we were talking, and I said sometimes the things that are coming up are so ridiculous that if you were to say them out loud, so you could literally hear them, right, coming out of your mouth, you will giggle and go, "Are you kidding?" Since this has been on both channels, this is like Quib's thing. We get this. Somebody reaches out to us, and we get a contact that says, "Hey, we've been talking to the people at the Big Red Button, and your channel is going to get taken down in the next 48 hours, and they've asked me to reach out to you and Tommy." Well, when you hear that out loud, sometimes you read things and it almost makes sense, but you read it out loud and you just start laughing your ass off. The reason I'm not saying this for no reason, by the way. We don't engage every part of our brain. And sadly, we get into rhythms and we get into habits where we don't engage. We really don't, because we don't have to. When I say that I sit down and I journal, right? Well, the act of writing is a whole different set of gray matter tools, right? So I'm not just sitting and stewing and getting pissed on my emotion part. When I sit down and I have to write it, those two parts of my brain need to come to some kind of an arrangement. Right? Because if those emotions want to get down on paper, they're going to have to jive with the upper level executive part of my brain. Beautiful things happen when you start doing that. Right? This isn't busy work. Right? We're sitting around going, well, they got to do something while they're trying to stay sober. You know what I mean? I know. Tell them to journal. It's not like that. It really isn't. This is the backbone of success. I mean, if you're stopping by because every once in a while it's fun to listen to me, but you're not a drug addict and you think none of this applies to me, it is the absolute recipe for success. It's got nothing to do with it's great because success for us means not using, but regardless of what is going on, no matter what is going on. Anyway, DNV 1983 says, "How are you dealing with all of this stuff with Reese?" Well, I think that Quibs and I, what you see is pretty close to what you get. For real. If you've ever watched Cults and Crims, or if you've ever seen us on the Others channel or whatever, we laugh a lot, right? We giggle a lot. You guys probably don't very often get it to see the sort of the serious moments. I think we've had a few of them on tape before. but we communicate and we talk. This is hard. It really is. It's hard. And again, this is probably going to come out, and there'll be other stories about it. But there have been some. There's been some really ugly threats, and I get threatened a lot. But these were a little different. These seem to have a little bit of hair on them, so to speak. But the truth of the matter is, we've taken every precaution that you can possibly take to make sure that everybody is that everybody's in good shape. Yeah, it's kind of silly, but true. I'm not an alcoholic, but all this stress over my brother had me turning my house upside down for something to drink to get it out of my head. You know what? This is I've had this happen to so many people over the time that I've been running the lifeboat. I've had this conversation with so many people, and it's not always booze. Sometimes they're looking for a Loratab, right, or a Percocet 30, and they've never thought, you know what, I really don't have a problem with this stuff. But I'll tell you, when you're looking underneath mattresses and you're digging through stuff and you're throwing things in the air, boy, it feels like you got one, doesn't it? It really does. Oh, very cool. If you haven't seen that interview, you should get over and check out Bacon Bits Ben Turner. Very, very cool interview. BBB is good, right? Bacon Bits has got the man is a deep thinker. He really is. And I'm proud to call him friend. Your service dog Jane says hello. Well, there you go. I don't know that Jane has ever said hello to me before, but hello, Jane. Miss Dragon, what's happening? I'm glad. I'm glad that you're safe. I was a little freaked out last night. Can you give us an update on? For those of you who don't know, things were starting to encroach on her home. She's staying kind of against some evacuation orders. So thoughts and prayers for our sister, Miss Dragon, and yeah, stay safe. All right, people. Back to coping skills. This again is something that most people develop between the time that they're about 8 and the time that they're 14. I don't know about the rest of you, right? Perhaps you were kicking ass from the time, that age group. But I started getting high right around 12, 13, 14, right? That was when I first started to use. And once I did, you know how very often you'll hear somebody say, man, I smoked pot for the first time. And the second I did, I was like, man, this is the answer to everything. Or the first time they drank, they were like, man, this is it, right? For the first time in my life, I was not uncomfortable in my own skin. And it still wasn't right. I didn't like the buzz, but for the first time, I was not uncomfortable in my own skin. And I think that's it's a frightening moment. It's a very frightening moment when you realize that, holy hell, right? I can make this go away. And we begin to start self-medicating then, right? For real. That's the moment when we start. The thought of the high is better than the actual drug, says Pebbles. You know what? That's all I got these days. I promise you, that's all I got these days. The trouble is, and there's a lot of truth to what she just said, right? There is a lot of truth, because we begin to romanticize the stuff that we used to do. We start to romanticize the buzz and everything that from our past. Yeah, this is something that's actually fairly common. But the farther we get away from the catastrophic crap that forced us to quit in the first place, we start to forget that catastrophic crap. We start to forget the nights that we were in jail calling somebody collect, right? We forget the time that we're down in the pawn shop pawning something that belongs to your mother or father so that you can continue your streak of getting high every day. Those memories go away. And what we're left with is those beautiful memories of being on the nod, or that first feeling when you first got high. And all of a sudden, you're building this up in your head, right? Boy, oh boy. This is why you have to journal, right? Beating a dead horse? No. If you journal, you're going to realize exactly what you're doing. Your words will come out of your head and you will put them down on paper, and you'll say something along the lines of, I remember that concert we went to see, Guns N' Roses. We were so high on heroin. It was awesome. You're going to write something along those lines, and you're going to go, damn, Yeah, you're in relapse. Doesn't mean you're using yet, but trust and believe you're in relapse. Lost Mittens, member for 3 months, says, hi, Tommy. Hello, Lost Mittens. Good to see you. Glad that you are here. You saw a new therapist yesterday. Carol, I hope that this therapist is exactly what you're looking for. And if your therapist is not, fire them and try another one. I'm not joking. You have to continue to turn and burn until you get to the person that you want. And that's going to be somebody that understands you and somebody that doesn't make you feel stupid when you're asking questions. They don't get annoyed, right? I'm not trying to pick on any MDs. I love doctors, but some of them develop a God complex pretty quickly, right? And I can understand why. So think of the amount of stuff that they got to learn, right? And when you're done and you've made it, and all of a sudden you got that title of doctor, I would imagine that's if you have a bit of a dick swingy personality, that's going to get a hold of you. But we all know those doctors or have had doctors that just, hey, I'm the doctor here. Yeah, guess what? I'm the one who's putting this crap in my body. So let's have a better conversation. Mara says, Tommy, knowing how much better life is without using, do you still feel in danger of using? No and yes. Right? I don't sit and think about it ever. Right? I don't sit and think about it ever. Every once in a great while, I will get a craving, but it doesn't happen very often. It really doesn't. So I'm not in any fear that it's going to get me. But if by some strange chance, right? If by some strange chance that stuff got into my system, I do not believe for a hot second that anybody could stop me from turning back into the jerk off that I was before I got caught and sent up the last time. I mean, for real. This is the first time that I've been able to make a break and stay away from it for a really long period of time. I haven't done any smacking in like, since it's 9 years. All right, we're closing in on a decade. And I had never made it. I don't think I had ever made it past maybe a year. So this is way, way different. So I'm not worried about it, but I know that I can't fart around. I can't romanticize that. I'm not one of those people who thinks, oh, it'd be so great if I could just do it every once in a while. This is going to sound really stupid, but I don't have any desire to do it every once in a while. Right? I know a lot of people that, oh, I wish I could chip. I wish I could do it for 3 days and then just put it down whenever I wanted to. That wasn't me. I wanted to be addicted to it. It made life really simple. I was either high or I was doing something to get dope to get high. And there was nothing else in life. There was nothing else. Bills, family, God, nothing. It was a very simplistic life. And when you're a junkie, that it's the simplicity that you get addicted to, right? Not a lot of highfalutin thoughts going through my head. I'm not really hung up on the political race, right? Or who's doing what. It was, I need to come up with $700 today, right, to get through today. And that was the thought every day. It's ugly. It really is. But I was very addicted to the simplicity of it. Hi, Tommy. Is Jay threatening you as well? No, I don't think. I don't think I need to worry too much about that, to be honest with you. Maybe if I put on pumps and a mini skirt, but no, I'm not too concerned about that. Anyway, there's always a few people that don't like it. It's just one of those things. Boodakaboo, good to see you. Glad you're here. Hey, Lacey Silver. Always nice to see you. Always nice to see you. So, because of the fact that we tore ourselves up, a lot of us, when you started to do dope every day, I started getting high every day at 13, 12, 13. My emotional development stopped right there. That was it. My EQ, my emotional quotient was not going to get any bigger. It was not going to develop. That was it. It froze right there. It wasn't that big a deal because I didn't have to deal with any emotions. I didn't need coping mechanisms. The coping mechanism came by the gram. If I felt like I couldn't cope, I did more dope. Right? This is not a tough concept, right? It's a tough concept when at 46 you remove the dope and you start to work with somebody one-on-one and you really start to get going, and he says to you, all right, um, you do realize that you probably have the emotional setup of a 14-year-old, which is a hell of a thing to have in prison. I'll tell you what, right? That's really the place to have the impulse control of a 14-year-old. It works out great. Susie with an S says 10 years clean here off opioids, and when I had my hip surgery 6 years ago, I got my script and gave it to my son for dispensing. It was only one pill. I took one pill, and the beast was awake. Scary. Yeah. See, this happened to me, people. I got out of prison when I was married to the attorney. I got out of prison, and I had a stroke, and they gave me pain medication in the hospital. And up until that point, I was doing everything right. I was a year and a half out of prison. I had not done anything wrong. I had not failed the drug test, not missed going to see my probation officer, nothing. I was nailing it. And I was in a lot of pain at the hospital, and they were like trying to give me a shot of morphine, which I was telling them I did not want. Like, I was really adamant about it. And my probation officer walked in, and he was just being a kind guy. Nurse who loved me, good to see you. Aaron Cooper, what's up? He was just being a cool dude. He said, look, we'll help you get through this. Don't worry about it. You can't be in pain, right? I'm here. Like, I'm the guy you got to answer to. And I was like, you don't understand. And he was like, no, man, you shouldn't be in pain. He wasn't trying to be a jerk. He was trying to be kind. But it lit a fuse. Now I'll tell you something. You want to talk about a great relapse? Trust and believe that was a great relapse, because at this point, there is absolutely no illusion of any kind or delusion of any kind that somewhere deep inside Tommy is the ability to handle opiates, right? Somewhere deep inside me is the ability to just do it on weekends. It's never going to be a possibility. Just like my friend here says, one pill, and it would definitely wake the beast. And then it would be all over with crying. I mean, I've watched that shit show my entire life. Okay? This is not something that's uncharted waters. I have been watching this show on a friggin' loop my entire life. It just stopped when I was 46. That's the reality of how that worked. And it is a bummer. It is kind of tragic, but it could be a hell of a lot worse. There are people that never get off that wheel. There are people who just continue to run on that wheel for the rest of their lives. So as far as that goes, it really could have been a lot worse. I'm not complaining. Well, I'm probably complaining, but I'm not complaining a lot. You know what I'm saying? Lucinda, it's always a pleasure when you're here. Really glad that you're here. Hi to all my fellow Aussies in the chat. Well, there's a bunch of them. I'm telling you, people, we got a bunch of Vegemite eating people on here. I mean, a bunch. And I got some Vegemite on the floor. I can't have it on the desk anymore because it gives me that kind of a thing every time I see it. Christian Kruger, good to see you. Yeah, see, this is really this is very common among people that beat opioids. It really is like in our head. It almost is like it takes on the characteristics of a human being. I mean, for real. You start sitting there and thinking it's out there and it's waiting for me. The first time I mess up, it's going to be out there. It's going to be waiting for me, and it's going to get me. And as insane as that sounds, it's absolutely how I thought for the longest period of time. Did the chat end? I hope not, DNV. I do sometimes have that effect on the chat. Melbourne is awesome, says Mary. I'm a fan of Melbourne here. That's good. So if we know that we are that emotionally stunted, then we literally have to plan for our sobriety, right? or our success doing anything else. But you have to plan for what's going to happen when you're not a success. You're going to have to plan for what's going to happen when you fail. What's going to happen when you give it your best effort and that doesn't do it? Huh? Then what? Amazingly, we will spend a month and a half picking out a spot to go for vacation. We will research the crap out of that place, right? We will make reservations in advance to make sure that we hit the best restaurants, we get good seats, and all of that stuff. I mean, we will literally year in advance. But when we decide we're going to change our life, we don't take 15 minutes to plan what our life-changing event is going to be. Because I got news for you. Whether you want to get sober, whether you want to lose weight, right? It does not matter what it is. But whatever you're trying to do, you better plan for what's going to happen when it doesn't work out. Because nobody gets it on the first try. There's nothing wrong with stumbling, right? Especially if you know that it is a possibility and you've planned for what might happen if you do that. So it's not a shocker, right? Hey, Tommy, are you and Reese not doing cults and crims anymore? Do you know something I don't? Tell the truth, P. Taylor. Did she say something? Hey, Laura Lou, how are you? I'm kidding. No, of course we are. We are absolutely doing it. I promise you. It's there's been an awful lot going on in Quib's life. Right? There's a lot going on. I think she addressed a lot of that on Real Table Reese here earlier today. But we absolutely are going to do it. And I'm sure that we'll get something up in the next day or so. We just ran into a pretty ugly spot of luck. There were 2 different nights that we were ready to go, and then something came up and we weren't able to do it. So it's just been a string of bad luck is all. Hey, Stray. But no, I'm not going to lie to you. I have so much fun. I have so much fun on that channel. I really do. Like I laugh my butt off on that channel. So it's there's no chance in hell I would want to shut that down. Do I ever wonder what it's like to be normal? Laura Lou says, I do a lot. I used to. And then you know what happened? And I think I could say this here, right? I don't think I'm going to offend anybody. I think I can say this here. Then what happened is I got sober. And I got sober for a fairly long period of time, right? Got a little bit of sobriety under my belt and started stretching my legs a little bit. And I started working more within the sobriety community, right? And when that happens, you start meeting a lot of people who are normies. I started interacting with a lot of these people who say, yeah, never had a problem, never done this, never done that. And a couple of things. Number one, I don't know that I have ever met a normie. The longer that I do this, the more I realize that everybody's got something. Everybody. May not be a drug, might be a habit, right? But everybody has got something that they're doing to stay comfortable in their own skin. And it may be healthy as hell, right? I'm not saying they're all bad things. But you know that guy that runs 2 miles at lunch and then on the weekends he tries to do 10 miles on Saturday only to rest Sunday and then do it all over again? Guess what? He can tell you he's doing that because he wants to be in shape. He can tell you he's doing that because he loves running. He's doing that for the endorphin dump. He's doing that for what that is doing to the dopamine levels in his body. And he's doing that because it makes him feel comfortable in his own skin. It gives him a sense of control, right? When we normally feel like we have none. Everybody comes up with coping skills. So may I suggest, it's just a thought, but may I suggest you give it you give a list of what you're planning on doing. The more I meet these normies, people who claim to be normies, Laura Lou, the more I realize that the 1 or 2 who may have actually, the 1 or 2 where I couldn't find anything that was jumping off the page at me that, this is pretty obvious that these, no disrespect whatsoever, but I wouldn't have switched places with them, right? And I've spent 15, 20% of my life in prison. but I wouldn't trade places with them. It seemed to be some cats that lived there, didn't get out much, didn't live very, very sheltered life, and that maybe that's a great thing. You know what I mean? But it wouldn't have worked for me. I promise you it wouldn't have. I would have gone absolutely bat crap crazy. And I don't know what normal is, but I sure as hell know I'm not. Right? Kristen Melinda knows. Abby something, isn't it? Abby normal? You put an abnormal brain in an 8-foot tall monster. You gotta love young Frankenstein. Hello, I'm Crazy Brumfield. Always a pleasure to see you. Yeah. I mean, honestly, these normies are just broken people who are in denial about how broken they are. Well, it's really funny. It really is. It's funny. I think the one thing that we've got going for us as people who are addicts is that the realization that this is our disease makes us look at everybody else's disease a whole hell of a lot different, doesn't it? For real. You think it's a shocker that people come here and go, man, nobody on the lifeboat judges anybody, man. Like there is no judgment over there. That is a judgment-free zone. Yeah. Because everybody here has been judged their entire life on their disease. They're not going to do it to somebody else. It sucks. Our whole life we've been told it's not a disease. You're lazy. It's not a disease. You got no willpower. You're weak. If you were stronger, you'd process that insulin and we wouldn't need to get a needle out there. And sounds really friggin' ridiculous when you say it about any other disease, right? If you weren't such a candy ass, if you would just work a little bit harder, then that lupus wouldn't be such a problem in your life. Stupid, no? Makes no sense. Put any other thing in there and it just sounds so stupid, right? But hey, Kimroy. Yeah, I don't know a lot of people who are normal. Everybody's doing something to feel comfortable in their own skin. There are people who pick wisely. There are people who certainly pick a lot better than us. I spent as much of my life listening to the ants. They still come around, but it's getting easier to ignore them. You know what? We learn whatever it is that's going to work, and then we start doing that rinse and repeat thing, right? Then we start doing that rinse and repeat thing. If you can come up with 2 or 3 things that help you cope, you don't need 100. John Van Geest, good to see you. You don't need 100 different coping mechanisms. You don't. I mean, honestly, it's not like golf, right? Where you're like, well, I'm kind of bummed out on this one. To cope on this, I'm probably going to need about a 6. Right? It's got a little water trap over here to the left. Going to have to hook this around a tree. No, get out of the situation you're in. If you can use this same thing every time and it works, fantastic. Rinse and repeat. The idea of coping is so that you don't make decisions using the wrong part of your brain, right? You don't make decisions with the wrong part of your brain. If you're emotionally a wreck, right? We've all been there, right? Everybody's been there. You ever pick up your phone and start texting your ex, right? Or your current, when you were so pissed, you had absolutely no right sending those texts. You know that you're not thinking. The emotional part of your brain is saying some of the most hateful and disgusting shit. That's not who you are. That's not who I am, right? No, nobody's like that. But if you allow the emotional part of your brain, here you go, take the wheel, Bob. Have fun. I'm going to sit back there, put my feet up and see how you do, right? When you let the emotional part of your brain take control, later that night, you're going to get, this is a collect call from the Washoe Sheriff's Department, from an inmate at the, you've never texted exes though. John Van Geest is a genius. Ever left an ugly message? Ever done any of those stupid things? Boy, I will not have any more regrets. I dig that. Boy, do I really dig that. I love it. Whoa, how you doing? Here comes the monsoon. I'm not big on regrets either. not. Um, but I think you become adventurous, right? Definitely not a genius. I just picked up different type of self destruction. Well, there you go. Well, we all do kind of pick a poison and go with it in terms of that, right? We really do. Um, my problem was this, people. My problem was this my entire life. I'm a 14-year-old kid in a 35-year-old man's body, right? It's you're immature, yeah, and you're fat. It's like the scene from Ace Ventura. Uh, you're a child. You literally have not progressed past child in your ability to deal with things emotionally, right? No coping mechanisms at all. So I'm one of those people who literally would lose his, you know what, because I lost my car keys or I can't find my phone. The smallest things in the world. Well, if you can't cope, the smallest things in the world will set you off. All right. If you do not have the ability to cope, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. Can't find my keys. All right. I found my keys, but it took too long. This much can set off people who don't have the ability, right, to remain calm. Ah, see that? One trip. Well, I have a lot of respect for anybody who figures it out in one trip. Um, yeah, yeah. The jail's awful. Jail's awful, and it should get your attention, right? It's not supposed to be nice, but yeah. Tampa B says, "I'm almost 60 with an 80-year-old body. Knock that off. Knock that off." Yes, Stray says all the stupid things we've done builds a particular kind of character. Yeah. No, and you know something? That was Thunder, yes. You know something else? People get on the phone with me, right? And it's never the person doesn't reach out. There's always somebody that's like, you got to talk to Tommy, right? Tommy will talk to you. And usually the people getting on the phone don't want to talk to me, right? Because they figure I'm a sobriety dude and I'm just gonna shove this down their throat and all of that stuff. But uh, I don't spend 45 minutes on the phone with this person trying to understand how anybody smart could continue to do drugs as their life was falling down around them. Well, if the person could answer that freaking question, we wouldn't be in a room together, right? There's no chance we'd be having a conversation if the person could answer that. But if by some chance I have walked a mile in his shoes, when he gets on the phone and says, "Hey, man, I'm really having a bad time," the thing is, you go, "Yeah, yeah, I know what's going on, right? I know what's going on. Trust and believe I know exactly what's going on, right? Because it isn't any different for any of us. Okay, so your problem is with a woman and your rents, this dude's gay, his problems with it, but all of it is the exact same thing. The problems might look a little different, right? But it's all the same thing. It's the inability to keep our life together. So we treat ourselves like a trash can and throw any chemical we can get our hands on into that trash can. And if that doesn't do it, we're going to stuff that trash can with our foot until we can't get any more food in it. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. This is it, right? And this translates into a lot of other really hard ways to feel comfortable in your own skin. And I'm not making light of these, I promise you. But there are people who self harm, right? And I know that for people on the outside, they're like, on the outside looking in, you do what? Right? How in the name of God could that possibly make you feel comfortable in your own skin? Right? How can that do for them what heroin does for me? Oh, I promise you, exactly the same way. Exactly the same way. Now, it's not my particular, it's not how I got there. But believe it or not, it makes perfect sense to me that people are using it to do the exact same thing. And I watched, there's a lot of that goes on in prison, a lot. And I watched a lot of people doing that. I spent many a night in brigs while a fleet sailor back in the day. Never started a fight, but always would help end them. Yeah. Uh, it wasn't the brig that caused me to stop. It was the pain. Yeah, well, Gary, fantastic. Hello, shards of words. Good to see you. Mo Love. Welcome to the party, Mo Love. Um, You know what? So it's great when common sense can step in and intervene, right? I didn't have that luxury. I knew there was never a point that I was going, oh, I got this under control. No, I don't have this under control at all. I'm wildly out of control. I'm addicted to this stuff. I know I'm a junkie, but the prospect of quitting was far scarier, right, than the prospect of staying an addict. And that's really, people say a person has to be ready to quit. A person has to hate their lifestyle more than they fear the discomfort they're going to have to put up with to get clean. For opiate addicts, you're going to get sick. You're going to get sick for weeks. It's going to suck. But when the life you're living, you hate so much that fear no longer seems like such a big deal. That's usually when the window is open and people are ready. Hold on one second. Oh, Tommy, it built up to that ride. My issues had been flaring up for over a year. In spite of my anxiety meds, I knew I needed to get a handle on it. Months ago, it just took that ride to wake me up. God bless you. I love it. Honestly, I love it when anybody wakes up. I never could. I never could. I never could until I could, right? And who would have figured? Who would have figured? If you could go back, say, 10 years and say, with all of the rehabs you've been to, with all of the doctors you've gone and seen, with all of the specialists and all of the gurus, a black dude in a federal prison is going to be the one that helps you get sober. Didn't see that one coming. It creates a feeling when you have none. Feeling something helps us to be more present. It slows down the spinning in your brain because you now have one thing to focus on. Yeah. I mean, again, it literally is just an attempt to feel comfortable in your own skin, and the combination of the endorphins, which are going to kick in, right, and the visuals. It's a very, it's a kind of an all-encompassing thing, and it messes with a lot of people, a lot of really good people, by the way. I'm going to blow my nose here, people, so I'm going to mute this. It's always scary when you do that with a mustache, right? Because you never know if you're going to come up. Oh, no. And you're on film. It just could be really awful. How am I doing? All right. The better that vibes from it's a big list. It sounds counterintuitive, but that's how it goes. You know what? No, I don't know that it does. I don't know that it does. And I think that this is why. I have such a. It's why I can't get away from people who are in recovery. It's why I spend the vast majority of my time dealing with people who are in recovery. It's because they really are the kindest people that I've ever met. They go out of their way to understand that which they cannot. If they meet somebody and that person's struggle is way different than theirs, they're not likely to walk away, right? They're not likely to walk away. I think by the time you get sober, you've had the crap kicked out of you so many times. By the time you make it and you actually, you get a little sobriety under your belt, you get a year or two or whatever, you know that you've kind of made it. That is a very humbling feeling. And I think I think we look back at, and think, God, if I had met somebody like me a little earlier in the game. So each time you meet someone and you do see yourself. I mean, I don't know. I prefer you people. Yeah, that's right. I said you people, but I really do prefer you people. It's I like people that don't judge one another. You know, one tough chick says, I was afraid of the dark memories and I was avoiding doing the work it required to get control because of those memories. PTSD and complex PTSD are driven by proper triggers or tigers that are long in the past. Triggers by or paper tigers. Good God, people. By paper tigers that are long in the past. Here's the thing. Avoiding doing the work is really a great phrase, isn't it? Honestly, it's a pretty solid phrase, and I love the fact that you're self-aware enough to say that, right? Very often in recovery, when you first start to sort of click in the game, you do almost everybody reaches a point where now we've got the knowledge. Now we know that what we're doing is really messed up. Now we know that there are other people that have gotten out of this. Now we know that there are people who have been successful, and it really is different because when you have that and you know you're not doing the work, we used to call it programming, but you know you're not working a program. Let's see here. Why did I begin using? Well, I've done a couple of shows on this, and and I'm probably going to be doing one in the very near future with Quibs, where I'm going to talk about what happened when I peeled the onion down deep enough, right? But it's a little late in the show to bring this up because this is a 2 hour discussion. I had some stuff happen to me in my youth that kind of it changed the trajectory of my youth, certainly, and more realistically of my life. And everybody's got them, right? Everybody's got them. I honestly didn't think I had them. That's no joke. And I think this is not unusual. You got to be sober for a period of time and actually start going back. And when you start writing about things and things start coming out, and you're like, oh my God. And then you talk to other people and it's frightening. It really is. But I started smoking pot because I was uncomfortable in my own skin, and that made me feel comfortable. And the first time that I did pain meds when I didn't need them, I thought, this is it. This is how I want to feel for the rest of my life. It just seemed like it was perfect. It just seemed like it was perfect. It wasn't, yeah. In the very beginning, it always seems like it's perfect. Right? Cults seem the same way. Relationships seem the same way. In the beginning, you're not, we get myopic, right? We focus so in on what we want that all the stuff that's going on the outside, we're not catching any of that, right? Opiates do give that euphoric feeling. Yeah, Shannon Smith. And for me, what it really did was it took away pain, all of it, right? And I had a lot of pain that wasn't physical, but opiates took that pain away like this, right? I mean, like that. And I was good to go. I was ready to go. And in the beginning, it made me bulletproof. I could go up on stage, do my shows. I never, ever got stage fright. I was just super comfortable. My numbers got better. They really did. Like I was sitting there and justifying to myself that, you know what? I'm way better off when I'm strung out on this crap. I really am. I'm a better person. I honestly started feeding myself this crap. I mean, I guess you have to feed yourself that, right? To be able to continue to do what you wish you had would have stayed on Suboxone, then get back on it. Seriously, if you're finding yourself feeling like you're going to go back to doing what you were doing, then get back on Suboxone. Don't fart around and wait until you actually relapse. If this is sending you, you know the feeling, right? If Suboxone took away those cravings and made it so you never thought about it, but those feelings are back, get back on Suboxone. Call your doctor and tell them exactly what's going on. Hey, man, those cravings and those feelings are back. They'll put you right back on it, right? Maybe you got off a little bit too early. In the old days, doctors were saying you should stay on it for 1 to 3 years before you quit to give time for your brain to get accustomed to living without, real dope in your life. Now they're saying 3 to 5 years. And You know, the woman, the doctor that got me on the stuff just said, if you took this every day for the rest of your life, why would your life suck because of that? I said, I don't know that it would. She said, okay, then play it by ear. But worst case scenario, you got to put one of these little things under your tongue every day for the rest of your life. Beats the hell out of being a junkie. It really does. Glitterella, into your veins like heroin, accept the pain to feel again. Ronnie Recky, hey, there you go. There are some really tight lyrics out there, particular on that. These days, female predators are more recognized as true predators, not just an innocent fun with an older woman. Yeah, it was definitely a little bit different when I was a kid. Um, it definitely was different when I was a kid. The pain and the sickness is worth feeling love. Yeah. um, it's it's heavy. It really is. It's heavy. Shannon Smith says, sending you prayers. I'll take them. I will take them. Mo Love. Suboxone takes up the opioid receptors. You don't get sick and it eliminates the craving. Miss Dragon's pretty much nailed that. It goes in and makes those receptors think that heroin just attached to it, right? So even though they didn't, right? The you don't get that feeling of, hey man, I really feel like I need to fix, because as far as your MU receptor thinks, you just did. You just did fix. If you think about it kind of like a faucet, if you live in a cold climate, you'd let the faucet drip just a little bit so it wouldn't freeze. That's basically what Suboxone does. It goes in and it coats the receptor, so the receptor feels like it's cool, and then it just drips small amounts of basically the same chemical that it would be dripping into your body if you had just done heroin. But instead of turning the faucet on and then turning it off and you're going to be sick, it's just going to drip like that, right? Over a 24-hour period of time. An agonist antagonist. If you study it, it is a fascinating freaking drug. But what it does is it keeps people from going back and doing the things that were killing them. When do all of these dreams stop or chill out when on Suboxone? Well, here's the thing, Debbie P. It's not so much that the dreams go nuts when you're on Suboxone. It's that when you were on the other stuff, right? It suppressed the dreams so much that now that you're not on it, right, your brain's going, whoa. It will get accustomed to it. It will back off over time. I remember the first 6 to 8 months was pretty nasty for me. My friend Jack said it was 2 years for him. Canadian Medical Association Journal, July, August 2024 issue, article, receptive transcranial magnetic stimulation, TMS, for smoking cessation. Are you familiar with this therapy for smoking? Thoughts? Yes, I am familiar with this. Here's what I would say on this. If this works for people, that's fantastic, right? And I think it's one of those things that works for some people and does not work for others. And almost everything in medicine is that way, right? Even pharmaceuticals. What is a golden bullet for one person is not going to necessarily be for another. I got after another stroke, a pretty bad one. I grasped at a lot of straws, and that was one of the ones that I grasped at. I did not see the fantastic results that some of the other people did. I don't doubt their results. I just think that what it's good for some people and not for the other. Does it block your natural dopamine? Can you still feel the happy feeling on Suboxone? Can't you? Yeah, there a lot of people talk about this, right? You guys have been watching me since I started this channel. I assure you, you've seen me go through a range of emotions on here, right? In fact, you've seen me hit all of them. You've never seen me when I wasn't on it, right? So I don't know. I hear people talk about that, but you hear people talk about a lot of stuff. It's again, maybe for some people that is a reality. I know that everything is different, right? Everything really is different. Good Lord, Martha, I am so sorry. And Martha, I heard a rumor that this was that there was some syrup. This is grade B syrup. You know, everybody thinks grade A fancy. Man, the thicker that stuff gets, like B, oh man. Yeah, it freaks me out a little bit. I like it that much. I seem very normal on Suboxone. Yeah, you know what? I am pretty normal on Suboxone. I forget to take it constantly. I forget to take it constantly. Like 4 o'clock will roll around and I'll go, oh crap. And then I'll not do it. Right. For real. I'll just go screw it and I'll hold off till tomorrow. Because it's not like, for me anyway, it's not like, the kind of sick that you used to get on real opiates, right? On a real agonist. But it's not, it really is a very unique substance. What's the difference between Subutex and Suboxone for pain? Okay. They're both buprenorphine, by the way. Not a doctor, just a drug addict. I don't play one on TV, right? But I comment on drugs I've done. Subutex and Suboxone are both buprenorphine. One of them has naloxone, Narcan added to it, right? That is Suboxone. Subutex does not have that there. For that reason, people who want to party or want to get more bang out of their buck, there's going to be more bioavailability. How much of the drug actually gets into your body, you're going to get a lot more off of Subutex than you're going to get off of Suboxone. The way Suboxone is designed, the fact that the Narcan is in there, the more you take, the more Narcan's in your body, and it starts to counteract the actual substance itself. It's fascinating. It really is a fascinating drug. But Subutex, if you're trying to treat pain, I would imagine the better bet is Subutex, because you could continue to up the dose until you could titrate until you found something that actually works. That's not going to work with Suboxone, because the more of it you take, the less you're going to feel. Very, very weird. But they designed that because they wanted to, if you think about what they were doing, they were trying to get people sober. Kristen says, I can take Subutex because I was allergic to Narcan. So 13 years later, I'm still clean. God bless you. I love that. 13 years later, people. That really is awesome. Shannon C says, late to the live, but wanted to say I'm on methadone for chronic pain. I go to a pain clinic and I fear getting off of it could be awful side effects. You know what? I don't know how long you've been on it. The hardest kick I ever had in my life was methadone. It lasted an eternity. I'm not kidding. I mean, I was throwing up for 3 or 4 weeks. It was because of how it builds up in your system. If you were going to quit, you got to quit over a very long period of time. You talk to the doctors. If you can do it that way, you can step it down and that will really help. But the half-life on that stuff is like a turtle. You know what I mean? It just takes forever. So it just builds up and builds up in your system. It's a better painkiller, right, than would be Suboxone or Subutex. Methadone is an excellent painkiller. It really is. It just has a reputation for being what heroin addicts take, so people don't want to take it. Shannon Smith says, my sister never felt sober on Suboxone. Do you mean she felt like he was cheating because she was on Suboxone? Or do you mean that she felt like she was getting a buzz off of it? Because if she felt like she was getting a buzz off of it, either A, they were really giving her the wrong dose, or she didn't really have an opiate problem. Because that's really unusual. Shannon Smith. Hey, if you got a wrench, can you put a link up to Shannon Smith's channel, people? Trying to get to 50. Let's give her a little love and support. Can we do that? CBC member for 3 months. What about Sublocade? I think Sublocade is a fantastic idea. I, however, have never taken it, right? So I can't really answer to that, but I know a lot of people absolutely swear by it. Kristen says methadone was the worst. I was on it for chronic pain, but addiction took over, so I switched to Subutex. Okay, it's a very hard substance to quit. I get lazy guy from reading the chats, so I'm just going to listen and enjoy myself. There you go. There you go, Miss Chicago. I like it. Lumen. Low dose Lyrica made me feel buzzed, and I haven't drank, etc. in years. Yeah, no problem at all, Shannon. Like to see you get there for sure. And we got 244 people in here. I don't think we should have any problem getting her to 50, right? Yeah, that's the spirit. That's the spirit. I don't know where that awful cat is. She should be here on cue. Squirrel nut zipper. Lazy. See, starts to read her own press clippings. She thinks she's a star. She's a bit of a star. Keep that real. She's a bit of a star. Hey, Gary's making it. He's tossing them out like hot sauce packets. And 5 more people are turning green. I love it. Oh, the last of the foster kittens go to their forever home tomorrow, says Kim Roy. I bet that's a very tough thing emotionally. You're happy as hell and you're probably miserable at the same time. That would bum me out. I could never do what you do. I mean, I guarantee I could find him a home, but it would be my home. I could never take a cat. And I mean, it really does take a special person. I have mad respect for people that can be fosters for kitties. I mean, God help us. Seriously, you're the strongest people on earth. On earth. It's blows my mind. All right. Analytical Blarney. So good to see you. Eating a late dinner with you, Tommy, and chilling out. I love that. I love that. My subscribers are the best, Tommy. I love you guys. You know what? The subscribers over here are absolutely unique. I know every channel says that. Every channel's lying. This is really a very, very different group of people. Very, very unusual group of people. Not even a shred of judgment anywhere in here. Analytical Blarney also turning a bunch of people green. You know something? This is I love you guys. I really do. I really do. Every single time I come here. Buddhist Beer, good to see you. Every time I come here, I feel it's a connection. There's no other way to say it. I know for the connection guy to say that, it probably sounds hokey, but it really is connection. I screwed up at work so badly today, I might get fired tomorrow morning. What a bad day. You know what, Panda? I'm sorry to hear that. I really am. I'm sorry to hear that. I've had a lot of nights like that where I figured, well, tomorrow morning, except a lot of times it was like I kind of assumed that when I woke up in the morning, the police were going to be at the door. You know what I mean? But it's still a very uncomfortable feeling. The feeling of not knowing what tomorrow is going to bring is a really uncomfortable feeling. May I make a suggestion? Don't always go with the worst possible case scenario. When you're painting that crap in your head, just for giggles, right? Just for craps and giggles, go, all right, I got to throw a best possible case scenario out here for Tommy, right? I just got to throw this out because if not, Tommy would be crapping all over me. And then put out the best case scenario. Like you go in tomorrow and they say, hey, you know what? No, it was a tough day yesterday. Maybe we threw you to the wolves too soon. They say something lovely. You know what I mean? Take you out for lunch. Glitterella. Why, thank you. Why, thank you. Those lyrics are great. It's yeah, Swedish. Lumen, I gained 25 pounds in 8 weeks. That's got to be Lyrica. I swapped to gabapentin and have been on it now for 10 years and never gained any weight on it. I take 900 milligrams 3 times a day. You know something? There is really something up with Lyrica. There really is, man. Like all you got to do is have a pill bottle of Lyrica on the table and you're going to put 10 pounds on. I'm not kidding you. There's something really messed up with that drug. Everybody that takes it puts on mad weight. I mean, just incredible amounts of weight, which is just, it's awful. Yes. Mod, can we take care of that? You see, Brazy, here you go. We'll put it up there. Thank you, Brazy. Can I get one of my blue wrenches to do that? I saw a quote I liked, and thank you very much, Brazy. I saw a quote I liked. Sometimes what didn't work out for you actually did work out for you. Yeah, I love that. I really do. I love that. Brazy, thank you for all of your support, your never-ending support. I'm glad you're here. 14 cats and a dog, all rescues because we can't say no. Miss Sunrise Dawn, I love you. Yeah, I'm that guy. I'm that guy. I literally could take, I mean, I would take every cat in the world if I had the opportunity. Laura Lou says, I am the queen of worst case. It's my own personal superpower. I used to be pretty damn good at it myself. Not going to lie to you. I used to be pretty damn good at it myself. But then I realized that, you know what? It never really does work out that way. It never really works out that way. Right? And it's usually not the best case scenario either. It's always going to fall somewhere in between, right? It's going to land somewhere in the middle. But we paint the darkest pictures in the world. And the thing is, that is a projection, right? That literally is us visualizing what is going to happen the next day. Our brain can't tell the difference between between visualization and reality. Can't. They've hooked up people, Olympic athletes primarily on computers for this. You see the people at the top and they're doing this, right? They are doing that run in their mind. Their brain cannot tell the difference between a memory of it, right? The reality of it, or the visualization. This is why every single sports psychologist, every single coach, they will tell you to visualize what you are going to be doing in your sport because it absolutely works. It really does. This is something that does exactly what it should. Let's go over this real quick because jail is a little different than prison. Jail is where you go when you get arrested. Everybody in jail is innocent until proven guilty, right? The people in prison have already been proven guilty. Feel me? That's how that works. Michelle, good to see you. That's exactly how that works. So I did go to jail, but I also went to prison. B. Hendricks, good to see you. Someone did say party 7th. How are you? Teresa Baldessari, Tampa, June. We got the gang. We got the gang. This is the 18th. So I went to prison for three different times. The first time I went for possession of stolen property. That's what I went to prison for the first time. Possession of stolen property. The second time I went to prison for bank robbery. Federal prison. I done it. And the third time I went to prison for felon in possession of a firearm, selling firearms without a license, transporting firearms across state lines for crimes, a bunch of other stuff, all related to firearms. I'm not a firearms guy. Never have been. It's never been a part of my career. Never thought I needed them. This just was something that I was selling. I got a really incredible deal on a lot of them. Set up by the FBI, and then I sold to the FBI. And if you're scratching your head as an attorney going, they can't do that. Yeah, you're right. They can't. But I'm an ex-con. And they certainly did it. Lisa from Jersey, good to see you. Sporting the blue frames for you today, Lisa. Glad you're here. I actually broke my sobriety in May because Milo died unexpectedly. Oh, I'm so sorry. Vet performed surgery without our permission. I'm doing better now. Well, thank God. Snot face. And you stumbled, right? We don't break sobriety here on the lifeboat. We stumble, right? If you give up drinking for real in September and you have, sometime in March, you got a couple of days that are just shitty. You're going to start again in March, clear off all the stuff you did up to that point, throw it out the window and say, that didn't matter, right? All that suffering, getting through that first 72 hours when I was literally shaking like a dildo, that doesn't matter because now I stumbled. We don't do that. We don't. You say, I've been sober a year. Had to stumble in there. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I like this a lot better than everybody else's model. Everybody else's model sucks. It really does. Doesn't force you to look at why you relapsed either. You just come out and go, hey, today's day one. Screw you, it is. But why did you relapse? Get out your journal. Let's find out why the hell you relapsed. No free rides. No free rides. You didn't blow anything. You didn't blow anything. But let's find out why you relapsed, right? Because everybody knows there are good relapses and there are bad relapses. April says, Tommy, I just want to say that you and Reese have chosen victory in life over being victims. It's incredible and inspiring. I'm proud to have you both as friends. Love you both. April, what a beautiful thing to say. I sometimes feel guilty when I get, when people say really nice stuff, and I appreciate it every time. I really do. It's a beautiful compliment. Quibbs is a survivor. She really is. And absolutely refused to be a victim. That's literally what she did. I think what I did was just a little bit different. You know, I'm a drug addict that broke a lot of laws, did a lot of really rank shit. And fortunately, I got sober and I'm living a better life now. And I'm not living it to make up for the one that I lived before. It's got nothing to do with it, I swear to God. But I'm a lot happier with the second half of my time on this planet than I was the first half. Had to make the tough decision to get another one because it was breeding season and he was my husband's rock. Sylvester is a new baby in our life. Well, congratulations on your new baby, Snot. And my friend says, I'm in need of some Tommy wisdom. I love you, April. Thank you so much. Well, I don't know how much wisdom I got, but what can I do for you? I'm always game for a little bit of play. You know what? It's not whatever works. You know what? Quibbs is she's a very she's a unique character. It's amazing because what you see is what you get, right? For real. That's who she is. She's not putting an act on for any way for anybody, right? At all. However, none of you have ever gotten to see her, at least honestly, because there's a part of her that is so kind and so tender, and I just don't think anyone's going to see that. I think I'm really blessed to have seen it. But she's a very, very unique individual. April, I love that. She says, when you choose to live well and do good by people, that is no small feat. You could have let yourself waste away. You're doing so much good, and I am proud of you. Thank you. That's a beautiful thing to say. It really is. So you're depressed and sad. Brewsty, well, we can't have that. Goes against everything we do here, right? Well, I mean, it does happen, right? Sad and depressed are two legitimate emotions. But if there's a reason to be sad, right? It's sad happens. Depressed is different, right? We go happy, we go sad, that's okay. Depressed means you're sad and you can't get out of it. You're sad for no apparent reason, right? You're sad after what would be a normal time of being sad and grieving. You know, can't get yourself out of bed. Depressed is a little different. But if you're feeling sad today, you've come to the right place. You really have. Because the first thing that you did was to say, hey, man, I'm hurt, right? We're fond of shit of that here. Pardon me. We really are. We're fond of that. Because the other option is suffering in silence. And suffering in silence is just going to get you nothing. It really isn't. You're not going to be able to get out of your own way. Shelly Kelly, glad you're here. Hey, Witchy Trista. You know what, Snot? I can't complain, man. I can't complain. It's a different world than you saw the last time you saw me, for real. I've had some epic meltdowns. I had a really bad reaction to a psych med that almost short circuited me. Thanks, Boat, for making a bad memory day better. You know what? I love that. Love that. What could be cooler than that? Yes, my favorite watch flipper. That's me. That is me. Been flipping watches all week too. Hey, Miss Dragon. Much love, everyone. The fire are still close, about 3 miles, but I have less worried than we that we have to evacuate. I'm glad to hear that, Mr. Dragon. There were a lot of thoughts and prayers, a lot of people worried about you. So I'm glad to hear that. Jamie Smith says, good evening, Tommy. Good to see you and Reese on the same screen earlier. Looking forward to seeing you in the same room. Yeah, me too. Me too. I really am. Just got a couple of things I got to take care of here, and then I'll be there within a week. Should be there within a week. Can I explain more on the short circuit of the segment? Yeah. Okay. If you're new to the boat, I took a lot of shots to the head, right, over the course of my life. I was a freestyle skier that did inverted aerials, right, backflips this way. And if you over rotate them, you hit your head on the snow really, really hard. And we did it before there were helmets, and then a lot of fist fights and football, and just I had a ton of concussions, a ton of them, and didn't think it was any big deal. Just went through life, kind of thought everybody had 13 or 14 concussions. That was probably standard operating procedure for most boys. As it turned out, that's not really the case. Most people actually won't get one in the course of their life, but if they do, they'll get one. Some people get two. So I had a lot, and primarily over rotating. They would say, don't put your hands out like this, because if you do, you're going to blow out both shoulders, right? Like that, because you're going 60 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour, right? So you start coming in, you put your hands down, both shoulders are going to go, the collarbones, the labrum, the rotator cuff, they call it a total. Everything will be gone. So they say, cross your arms, right? Cross your arms. And when you do, you hit, your back hits, and then your head hits. And there's not much you can do about it. And we were doing it before guys were wearing helmets. And unfortunately, as I got some scans done, I didn't think it was logical that I was forgetting at my age. Like my pets, the names of my pets, I couldn't remember. And that was pretty distressing. And I went and talked to the, keep in mind I'm in prison, but I went and talked to the people in prison and told them my complaints. And I got diagnosed with this little dead spot, a little cerebral infarction, this little dead spot on my brain. And it's causing, it's kind of causing early onset dementia is what's going to be coming. And it's already started to come, sort of. Because of this, there are some medications that they're doing some experimenting with to help people who get diagnosed with early onset dementia or other things. So I took it. I signed up for this trial, and I thought it was a wonder drug. I thought this was the greatest shot on earth. I really did. I felt like $1 million. If I had been reading my journal entries, I would have realized that I was not $1 million. Right? I was bordering on insane. I was not particularly logical, and it's amazing that Quibbs and I are still friends, because we had some pretty horrific fights during that time. Right? I said things I wish I could take back, things that just weren't me, and for that reason, I walked away from the lifeboat. I made an awful lot of changes, and I was literally like in the middle of a mental breakdown. So going out to help Quibbs move, while it was probably a real benefit to her, it was also a benefit to me. I had only been off of that stuff 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, about the time I went out there, and she was fantastic about engaging and keeping me engaged and talking. And yeah, I think we certainly both helped each other. But that's what the medication was all about. And what happened is, one day in the morning, it was like 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and I got a text message that said, "Don't take that medication again. Whatever you do, do not take that medication." And the crazy thing is, it was causing in some patients the symptoms that mimic rapid cycle bipolar disorder. And that's what it was doing with me. And I wasn't aware of that, but that's exactly what was happening. And it was happening to a buttload of us in this study. And a lot of people relapsed, and it caused a lot of problems for a lot of people's lives. I think I'm blessed. I think it could have been a lot worse for me, but it's taken me all this time to kind of level out. And I don't know that I'm back to where I was. And maybe I don't get back to where I was. Like maybe I damaged the crap out of myself. But every time I feel like I'm never going to be the same, I come up with a whole different external hard drive, a different way to keep it rolling, right? If your memory isn't working, you should write stuff down. Journaling will go a long way to keeping you the game a lot longer than just sitting around and trusting your brain pan. Comment: I'm starting ketamine on Monday. I'm excited, but also pretty nervous. I'm doing the at home. Okay. With therapy on Tuesday, there's a really good chance this is going to be okay, right? It's going to be fine. If you follow the instructions, Andre, you're going to be fine. This drug, here's my only issue with that drug. It's pleasurable, right? Massively. It's a derivative of a pretty strong drug, right? It's a derivative of PCP. So it goes bang. This is a pretty serious freaking drug. So if you're prone, if you know you're that person, then you really got to guard yourself, because if you're doing this at home, you're going to take that first one and go, boy, I really do feel better. That 15 of these would be a hoot, right? That's the reason I don't do it, because I don't have that control. If you do, that's fantastic. It is what it is. Snot face. Word vomiting is what we do here. Knock that off. You know better. What was it? Please let us know the name of the drug. Here's the thing. That drug was not available to you. You couldn't get this drug if you tried. This was, during the last administration, they signed something where people who had specific diagnoses, usually end-of-life diagnoses, can get medications that have not been approved by the Food and Drug Administration yet, right? So that we don't have to wait for that whole process. What if you're waiting on that process for 13 years and that drug could have saved your life, right? So they've made it a lot easier for people to basically experiment on themselves. And seemed like a good idea at the time. So don't worry about it. That drug is not available to anybody and never will be. Spike, good to see you. That's not going to pass any kind of it's not going to pass any kind of FDA approval, I promise. Didn't work out very well at all. Did not work. Damn. Crystal says, yes, it is scary. It is scary. And it's the reason that I thank you, Snot. Appreciate that. It's the reason that I will never do it again. I was at the time, Quibs and I were I think at that point we were starting to realize we were more than friends. We certainly knew. We may not have done anything about it yet, but we knew. And it was great it was good to have her there, because even when I was sitting there going, I don't know, she's like, nah, you're never doing any of this crap ever again. It was the dumbest thing ever. She was the voice of reason. What the hell do you mean? This is your brain you're playing with. Barbie says, thanks for your thoughts and prayers. And friends of the Lifeboat, my daughter is getting tested for a brain tumor or MS due to blindness in one eye. Yay, test showed she is okay, and eyesight is slowly expected to return. God bless it. How cool is that? Hey, you know what? People, think whatever you believe in for us, right? You don't believe in God, whatever you believe in. If you don't believe in anything, just smile for our friend, because that's so damn cool. It really is. Barbie, I couldn't be happier for you, man. I really could not be any happier for you. That's so cool, man. And everybody else agrees. April says, Barbie, that's great. Shelly Kelly says, that's wonderful news, everybody. Let me try this one more time. Bruce T, the drug that I was given did not have a name. It had a series of numbers, about 12 of them. It had not gotten through the process of FDA approval. When it goes through the process of FDA approval, what the other drug? ketamine. Sorry, the other drug is ketamine. She's going to be doing ketamine therapy in her house. Ketamine feels fantastic. Really does. Ketamine feels fantastic. And drugs that feel fantastic are really a danger to people like us. However, if you can keep this in check, right? April, please get some sleep. Happy birthday. April, happy birthday. And I'm glad you spent some of your birthday on the boat too. That's an honor. April, it really is. That is awesome. But feel free to get some sleep. Ketamine, they're doing a lot of at-home ketamine therapy now. There are some very interesting companies that will. Andrew says, I do feel confident in my ability to follow the guidelines strictly. They told me not to use any of my anxiety meds or cannabis the day before, the day of, and the day after. That's the scary part. I would just follow their instructions. Follow their instructions. I don't think you're going to feel the Jones for the other drugs. I don't think you're gonna be craving cannabis. I don't think you're gonna be craving your anxiety meds, any of that. This is this has a profound effect on you. This is a dissociative drug, right? So even in the small amounts that they're giving it to you, this is a very rugged drug, very, very strong drug. And it makes you happy. This is definitely a drug that will, in the doses they're giving it to you, I don't imagine you're going to be thinking about anything else. You're going to be very content. Everybody I've talked to that has done it, that's the word that people use a lot. Andra, it's going to be interesting to hear what you have to say, but content is a word that people throw around a lot with that particular treatment. Well, Kristen, Melinda, we're all here with you. You're not alone. You got the entire damn boat here with you. Evie, good to see you. Good to see you. Glad that you're here. Tara Smiling said she does her therapy with ketamine at home. And when she has to, she prefers it in the office. I've heard that from other people too. Sorry, people. I've heard other people say the same thing. Any way you shake it, this is Lisa says, I had ketamine once in a twilight anesthesia. I woke up feeling amazing. Yeah, I've done a grip of it. Like, by way of full disclosure, I've done a lot of ketamine. What is ketamine used for in the real world? It can knock you out. They can use it in anesthesia. It's an anesthetic. But it is it's a dissociative drug. It's the kind of drug that can make you wonder where the hell you are or if you're real. And I don't mean the amounts that they're going to be giving Andra, but I mean in higher quantities, it can cause some really odd effects, right? Something called K-hole, where you feel like you're at the bottom of a well, and you get kind of a black around the outside of your vision, and all you see is a hole, but it makes it look like everything's about 2 miles away from that hole. It's really a bizarre thing. Anyone that has experienced that, very few people say they like it. K-hole is a very, very uncomfortable feeling. Not a fan. I'm not a fan of taking too much of it. It was a lot of fun to take the right amount, right? I heard ketamine can be great as long as it is under the supervision of a doctor. Spike, I think the key, is that I think the key with this, and the key with any of this stuff, is get with a doctor, listen to the doctor, follow the doctor's advice, right? These aren't drugs to experiment with on your own. They're not, right? These are heavy-duty drugs. This is the drug, right? To be clear, this is the drug that took out the guy from Friends, Matthew Perry. This is what killed him. We're not talking about, this is a heavy drug. However, he was not taking it in the amounts that he was supposed to be. He was taking it in grips, huge amounts of it. Cinderella's glass slipper. How are you, my friend? Good to see you, and I am glad that you are here. Okay. Let me see here. Okay. Yeah. I would, both of those, that first drug, I don't know why the hell I can't remember the name of it. It's absolutely driving me nuts. But amitriptyline. Amitriptyline is another drug that they give people that that are struggling with pain and they're trying to treat outside the box kind of stuff. Amitriptyline is given to people, especially at night, to help with pain because it usually helps knock you out as well. And in low amounts, it does help. And gabapentin is another one that can help. And they definitely can help with anxiety. I mean, especially, I don't know what this N one is. I honestly never heard of that drug, but I'm not a doctor either. You know, I'm just a drug addict. But I'm not familiar with that one. Lucinda, what's happening? Good to see you. You know what? Every once in a while, I don't go on Facebook. Like I don't go on Facebook. I have somebody or had somebody until just recently that did all of that. I didn't have to approve anybody. I did nothing with it for years at this point. That person has left and is no longer working with us. Just got to that point in life where they're moving on. And so I've had to go in and start to deal with Facebook. And I had thousands, I'm not exaggerating, of people that asked if they could, who reached out and wanted to be friends on Facebook. Since I haven't been there, I obviously couldn't approve anybody. I started going through and approving people last night, and I'm not a stalker or a weirdo, but I also don't want to let people in that aren't real. Like, if you just hit approve all, you're going to get all kinds of people that don't exist. They're trying to catfish you, and it just really becomes a pain in the ass. So you kind of got to look through them. But I came across Lucinda, and Lucinda's a dish. I'm sorry. Lucinda's hot. She is. She really is. Lucinda, you are a lovely person to look at. Hold on one second. Yeah, I just it's a tranquilizer. Okay. Yeah, I've never heard of that one, which is really weird. You've done a lot of recreational. Yeah, I have too. That's how I did it. I have high hopes for you. I have really, really high hopes for you. I will tell you, the people that I know that have been successful in this, noratriptyline. Holy crap! I couldn't. Is that what the end? Is that what you had written up there? Was noratriptyline? Because I know what noratriptyline is. Did I just read it wrong? That could be it. The people that I talked to said the way you go into this is really important. And I would say the same thing if somebody was tripping, right? Don't go into this with a bad attitude or don't go into this bummed out. But this is a little different, right? Hopefully you're going into it with some journaling and some self-reflection, maybe a little meditation. If you're a prayer, do some praying. I mean, I think this is a golden opportunity to I don't want to start rocking back and forth and singing kumbaya, right? But if I do, you'll know why, right? But honestly, this is a golden opportunity. I would explore this, right? If I'm taking any kind of disassociative drug, I want to plumb the depths of my mind, right? There's a reason they call it a trip, and it's not that you're taking a trip from yourself; you're taking a trip into yourself. It really is different than every other drug out there, right? It's all of them. Any of the dissociative or the trip drugs, the other people call them that. Yeah, ketamine is no joke, says Dan C. It's so powerful, we only give it in micrograms to our post spine surgery patients, and they are always closely monitored. Yeah, other countries seem to really do a lot with it, right? Um, yeah, there are other countries that really seem to do a bunch. Um, Witchy Trista says, when I was a raver, I got K instead of MDMA without knowing. As I was falling into a K hole, my friend appeared in front of me and asked me how I felt. When I told him, he knew what I took, and forced me to dance. You're just lucky you had a friend there, because it is a god awful feeling. It really is. I'm not a fan. I am not a fan. Yeah, nortriptyline I'm familiar with. Donna, it's hit or miss. It's hit or miss with amitriptyline or nortriptyline. They're not painkillers, right? That's not what they do. But for some people, it's just hit or miss. I know people for whom it was a wonder drug, took all the pain away. Didn't do that for me. I tried it. Didn't do that for me. But if I had done too much blow, I could take a lot of amitriptyline to go to sleep. They used to be sold under the name brand Elavil. If you guys know Elavil, I don't think anyone's had Elavil in a really long time. I don't even know if it's. Yeah, probably dated myself with the whole Elavil thing. I won't approve you, Shannon Smith. It doesn't sound like me. There's nobody there that's not approved, hon. Try again. It wouldn't have been me. I promise I didn't bounce you out. I would absolutely approve you. I look forward to it. NAC is over the counter in most health food stores. Okay. I pray too. And I'm not trying to bum anybody out, but I do this. I do the same kind of things. I do it with psilocybin, right? The chemical from mushrooms. And I do this, and I spend a great deal of time before I go in and do the process. I spend a great deal of time targeting exactly what I want to do during that period of time. Dan C says gabapentin is usually strictly for nervous system issues. It doesn't do anything for inflammation. Yeah, my understanding is that it was a seizure medication originally, and now they give it for people who have like neuropathy. Right? If you're having nerve pain, it's a great drug. And it's not a great drug if you're having their nerve pain is really the only thing it works on. Right? That's about it. But it seems to work on that pretty well in my experience. But I'm not a doctor. I'm a drug addict. Yeah, Shannon, please try again. If that would have been an accident if it happened, I promise you. Your Facebook page has turned into a dating page. Men keep friending me. Delete. I'm over being with a man. My BFF is enough. My only friend. He's the best. I love that. I love that. But you know what? Never slam any doors. As everybody here loves to remind me on a pretty regular basis, twice a week at least, someone will reach out and go, I remember when you said you were never going to be in another relationship again. And that's not what I said. I said I didn't have a lot of hope. Right? Here's the thing. If you're a content creator and you try to date somebody who's not a content creator, you can't really have a conversation with them. Because the things that happen to content creators, they look at you and go, what the hell are you talking about? Like, this is an issue? Like, why is this an issue in your life? It sounds like elementary school with a bunch of people who have computers. And very often that's exactly what content creating feels like. But like, I can't call normal friends and tell them complaints. I can call Quibs and be like, I just had 2 trolls, do this, or this. And, the real world, they're like, so what? I don't get it. Bethany Saunders says, I've done tons of ketamine. As fun as it is, it causes serious bladder damage and can induce schizophrenia in higher doses during long periods of time. Once again, this stuff is a derivative of a very, very serious, very serious drug, right? PCP. Same family. This is ugly stuff. Kevin says, Ellaville knocked me on my ass. Ellaville used to knock a lot of people in their ass. It was also, it was very, very, I still seen some folks prescribed Ellaville here and there. Okay. It used to be really big in jail. And the reason that it was big in jail is because even if you're trying to get over on them, right? Even if they would like to give you as much drugs as they can, they would like you to sleep all day, right? That's if they can get inmates to just sleep all day, they won the friggin' lottery, right? Because we're not causing trouble, we're not messing with them. They love that. Flamin' Jackson, good to see you. Brazy says, at least I thought Brazy said. Maybe I missed it. Brazy says, Lyrica prescribed for spinal stenosis, nerve pain, and numbness. Any long-term side effects? Okay. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a drug addict. But I will tell you this. I've never met anybody that got on Lyrica that didn't put on 20 pounds just taking the lid off the bottle. That crap will make you gain weight like nothing on earth. Happened to me. Johnny Scoville was on it for a while. Johnny put on like 25 pounds in a couple of months. Really, really rugged stuff. My husband tells me to just exit YouTube. He was right. Well, exiting YouTube's not. You know what? There's good and bad. YouTube's been. It's been the greatest. Honest to God, it's been the greatest gift of my life. I've met the coolest people I've ever met, and there are people walking around today who say that without what we do here on the big red button, then they'd still be using drugs or they'd still be drinking. And I don't know if anyone's ever told you something like that, but that is the coolest feeling on planet Earth. You're just not going to feel anything that feels that cool. It's my drug of choice. So the big red button's got some issues, but God help me, I love this. I really do. It's such a great way to reach people. Dan C says, I quit Facebook a while ago after accepting that I was truly addicted to it. I don't miss it now. In fact, I don't have any social media now except for Instagram, which I never use. I will never tell anybody to do anything other than that. I think that's fantastic. Social media can be a very, very dangerous addiction. Dan C says, people who need to reach me have my number. Forget that messenger nonsense. That's the best thing about having a YouTube channel that a couple of people actually show up at is that you get to a point where you can't do any of that stuff anyway. You can't. It's impossible. The number of messenger requests that I get in a week, forget it. Like, honest to God, even the people that I used to correspond with every day are so far down. Like, I can't find any of them ever. It's just, I gave up. I tapped out on all that. And I used to love it because I used to really interact with a lot of people from the lifeboat that way. But then there became thousands of you. And, it was really cool when it was very possible when there were hundreds of you, but not so much now. That is what they did to the ladies at the women's prison too. First appointment with the psych doc was all super sleepy, sleepifying meds. Yeah, sleepifying. That's exactly what it is. They like giving them Seroquel, anything that they can give that's going to knock them out all day. Cinderella's glass says, smoked PCP once, got so high, I prayed to come down again, never again. You know what's really funny? I wish I had $1 for every time somebody said to me, I've smoked PCP once, and then followed it with the word once. Nobody ever goes, oh yeah. It's rare that you hear somebody say, I smoked this crap for a long time. And if they are, they're usually toast. I met a few of them in prison. Guys that got wet for years, they're gone. They're just gone. That stuff cooks your brain. It's really bad. Florence says Lyrica can cause eye issues, like make your eyesight worse. Well, I'll be damned. I did not know that. Good to know, though. Dan C says Lyrica causes major weight gain. Can also mess with your vision. Well, there you go. He's backing that up. SMSP says, my husband was on Lyrica and other pain meds for serious back problems. He didn't like it and is now off everything except paracetamol. What country are you in? Out of curiosity. Shannon Smith says, no Lyrica for me then. I'd avoid it. Yeah, Seventh Son says he gained 15 pounds in a month on it. It really. Lumen says major weight gain here from Lyrica. Had hell to get off too. Uh-huh. Yep. Yeah, it's scary stuff. Scary stuff. My chronic pain is due to large kidneys full of cysts. Oh Lord, and that puts pressure on the nerve bundles. Sounds like gabapentin could help. I'll have to get with a nephrologist. That would be the people who deal with kidneys. Nephrologist? I did not know that. Learn something new every day around this campus. See, I'm always telling you people I learn a lot from you. I really do. So it's real talk. It's real talk. Gabapentin, great drug for nerve pain, but don't go to the casino. Said like someone who has gone to the casino. Yeah. You know what I find to be an interesting side effect of both of those drugs? If a person takes too much, and I don't mean like ODing, I just mean takes a little too much. If they're supposed to take 900 milligrams and they take 1200, like it doesn't take a lot, but just a little bit more than they're supposed to, they will talk more than me, right? They will start talking and keep running their jibs until you get away from them, right? They'll follow you around. It's a pretty disturbing thing. 11 p.m. here in Toronto. And I have an early morning, so I'll say goodnight to you all. Chat to you all again soon. Love you all. Barbie, we love you too. Great to have you here tonight. I love it. And everybody says goodnight. Love that. Love that. Love that. You guys are great. Carfentanil sounds like it will never be used on humans. You know what? Here's the thing. If I don't know, man. If Keith Richards, right, in his heyday, maybe he could do a really small amount of that, right? Really cut really bad. I had a pretty disturbing habit. That stuff would kill me instantly. It's such a heavy duty. Like it's meant to knock out elephants. What it's designed to do. When you think about the weight of an elephant, SNSP is in Australia. Checks out. Because paracetamol is not something you're going to hear in the States. I deal with so many people only talking about drugs from all over the world that usually whatever you call specific medications can tell me exactly what part of the world you're in. But I always like to test that. But yeah, that's a very Aussie thing. It's a very, very Aussie thing. Lisa says, I was put on Cymbalta for anxiety and fibro. It has helped so much with the pain, but I've heard horror stories of getting off of it. If it's helping with the pain, I don't know that I would want to get off of it. Right? This is something we talk about a lot, right? This is a recurring theme on the boat, a lot, where people will say, I'm taking pain meds exactly how the doctor tells me to. It's 3 pills orally twice a day. That's exactly what I'm doing, but I want to get off these. And I go, are you no longer in pain? No, I'm still in pain. Then why are we trying to get off of this? Okay? Make me understand. Well, because there's such a huge stigma around fentanyl, around pain medication, around opiates, that society's making everybody who's taking pain meds feel like a worthless piece of crap junkie. Right? They're trying to turn all of those stand-up cats into who I was, right? Like you're just street users. And it's a pretty messed up thing. Yes, nephrology is the study of kidneys. Thank you, Dan C. Shelly Kelly says, I take Wellbutrin and Lexapro. They work well for me, thankfully. I took Wellbutrin for a very long time. That was the antidepressant that I took. And you know what I replaced it with? I talked to my doctors about this for the record, but I replaced it with Connection. I'm not kidding. I was on the stuff for years. I really struggled with depression, and then I started this channel. And no matter how hard you try, you can't concentrate on your problems all day long, because you end up concentrating on other people's problems for a good chunk of the day. And that will pull you off of that tailspin. And that's kind of what started it. And I used to take 450 milligrams a day, right? 3-time released 150s. And I got down to where I was taking one. And then I made a new group of friends, one of whom was Quibs. And this was right in the beginning when we were really just friends. Tommy, do you remember Tick in the 80s? I don't know. I'm not sure, Miss Chicago. Seroquel didn't help with my insomnia, but it made my heart race like maniac. Lucinda, really? That's that's an odd reaction. Most people, it slows their heart down. That's really odd. That's really odd. Otter Dance says, Lyric has been a game changer for me. I have fibro. Didn't notice a major change in my weight, but I'm huge anyway. Well, I'm glad that that this is helping with your pain. And again, this is such a great. This is what's going on, right? Always, every day here and everywhere else. What works for one person does nothing for the other, right? What weight gain in everybody, isn't an issue, but it's amazing to me how people will go, that does nothing. And the next person will go, game changer, completely changed my life. It's why you can't listen to anything. You got to get with your doctors and you got to try stuff. It's sad, but you do have to try it. Hey. When I had to have chemo neuropathy, the only thing that helped was time and letting it heal the extent that it would heal. Still have some issues with it 7 years past chemo. You know what? Carry on. That's impressive. It really is. And stoic. You know what I mean? To grit your teeth through the pain is I'm new to that. I'm new to that. And it's because I can't take pain meds ever again. And that's a realization that I've come to. And since then, I've gotten stitches, right? I've had a lot of injuries since then that I just kind of had to grit my teeth through. But I don't know. It kind of feels like a badge of honor, like you're going, I'm not ever doing that again, right? Like that's decent kind of pain. Pinchy Becky, 0Fs given, says, I worked 10 years in nephrology. It was seeing so many kidney issues with our diabetic patients. The reason why I had gastric bypass. I wasn't diabetic, but I was severely overweight. Well, what I hear, by 2030, half of this country is going to be considered obese. By 2030. Kim Roy says, I stopped complaining about pain at my doc. I'd given up and accepted I hurt. I'm so tired of trying this drug. Oh, here's a new one. Every pill had some crazy side effect. Yeah, Kim. The last drug that I did, this experimental drug that I did, has absolutely changed my life. Absolutely changed my life. When I got my prescriptions, not this last month, but the month before, I had my Wellbutrin in there, one a day. And I called the doctor and just said, I'm not taking this stuff anymore. I have stepped down and doing one a day. Am I going to be in danger if I stop taking this? And he said, no, not at all. And he said, if you may find yourself, and he gave me a list of things that might be happening to me. But you know what? I was Miss Chicago, top 3, 11 days. Well done. I had somebody that I was talking to every day, right? That was right around the time I was really starting to spend a lot of time on the phone with Quibs. And if you're spending, 3 or 4 hours a day talking to someone on the telephone and really engaging, right? Dan C. Wellbutrin made your ADHD worse. Wow. I've never heard anybody say that. But see, it's just different. Lucinda says paracetamol is popular and basic in Barbados. Oh no. I was on carbamazepine. Did it have an oxy in front of that? You sure you weren't on oxycarbazepine? Because that's it's a rugged drug. A lot of people in prison abuse that. Oxycarbazepine. It's another one of those seizure medications. They call them brown bombers in there. And guys, they buy them and eat tons of them and stumble around. It's pretty sad. I take Busprin, hydroxine, trazodone, Zoloft, Rexulti. They all cause weight gain. And I sleep a lot, but in total, it's 11 pills I take a day. But it stops with the unaliving thoughts. Hey, if that's working, that's fantastic. Do you do any kind of, other than coming here and talking to us, do you do any kind of peer counseling or any kind of therapy? I really can't suggest that enough. Like I said, I would talk to my partner for hours and hours every day. And we were talking about some pretty heavy crap, right? Pretty heavy crap from my past. If you were just watching the last show that we did, we were dancing around it. But I had some experiences as a kid where I had an older woman take advantage of me as a kid, and I was, for the first time in my life, I was having conversations about that and seriously working through stuff that I had never worked through. And after talking about this, going back and forth between my partner and my therapist and my journal, it's I think it's been I've probably made more progress in the last 5 or 6 months than I made in all of the time up to that point. It's been interesting. It's been interesting. Paracetamol is the Aussies. My understanding is that in Australia they're making that a lot more difficult to get now, right? Because I know that it had codeine in it. I don't know if it's still in the recipe, but when I first started working for people over there, they were on it. They would go out and get. Hold on one second. Donna, can you tell me what the name brand of that is? I just don't know what that is. Well, thank you, Miss Chicago. I love that. I love that you're here. I really do. Hey, Evie. Thank you. I'm pretty happy for myself. I really am. Grounding exercises worked for my panic attacks. Awesome. I was on 2 Xanax 3 times a day, 3 to 4 panic attacks after several deaths in a row, including nephrologists that I worked with. I'm completely off them. God bless you. Huh? Seriously, how good is that? Wow, I look younger these days. Holy hell, there's something over here every day, right? I think you're lying. Keep it up. Right? No reason to stop. It's good lies. They're excellent lies. Really good ones. Shelly Cap says, Tommy, you found a soft place to land with Reese. I did. Don Real says paracetamol is basically Tylenol. But yes, is it Tylenol 3 with codeine? Or is it regular Tylenol? That's, I guess, what I'm asking. Because I know at one time it had codeine in it. We don't, ours doesn't have codeine unless you have a prescription for it. Brucey, you have the people here understand depression, which is a nice thing, right? The people in your life may not. And that's very similar to addiction, right? You can sit down and talk to your mother or your father or your sister or brother about your addiction for 5 years. They're never going to have experienced what you're talking about. And to someone who's never been there, we're trying to explain the unexplainable. You went to prison, right? Got out of prison, went to prison for bank robbery, right? While this is going on, you fall in love with your attorney, who's 15 years younger than you, right? And pretty attractive. And this woman wants to marry you. I marry this woman, get out of prison. Here's the logical question: why in the name of God would you ever do heroin again? Right? You're out, you got everything. Why would you do it again? Okay. Well, that's a logical question, but it's not a question a heroin addict would ever ask me. Ever. They wouldn't go, you got out of prison and you went and did it again? They would go like this. How long did you make it? I'd say about 1.5 years. And they'd go, not bad, not bad. Because that's really what it is, right? It's a pretty ugly thing, this addiction. It really is. You can get paracetamol with codeine in Bermuda and Canada too, UK as well. Yeah, Cricket. As I think I've told people on here before, I had an office in Canada at one time, and God Almighty did Tommy. Oh, wait a second. That's Tegretol? Okay. So oxycarbazepine is also Tegretol. Those two have to be very, very close to one another because, Tegretol, God help you. How big are those that the prescription? How big are they? Tegretol's awful. Do you find that to be a very, very that drug is tough psychoactively? It's not fun. God, I hated Tegretol. God, I hated Tegretol. In prison, they call them brown bombers. Yeah, Tegretol. God, help us. Yeah, Shelly Kelly. You hear that? Bruce D, a lot of us on the boat understand depression. We're here for you. Love that. Love that. My kidney issue is genetic, polycystic kidney disease, kidneys and liver full of blood-filled cysts. May need a transplant someday, but so far my kidneys are hanging in there. Wow, God bless you. God bless you. That's tough. There's Cocodamol too, both available over the counter. Yeah, that's crazy to me, Lucinda. It really is. But I guess it shouldn't be. Priscilla says, I'm so thrilled you and Quibbs have one another. I have 450 milligrams of Wellbutrin. Doesn't do much for my ADHD either. Yeah, so you were taking the same dose I was. I'm really happy to be off it, to be honest with you. I'm happy to be off it. Brittany Van Brackle says, I have borderline personality disorder. It's known as the most painful of all of the personality disorders. Some days my body hurts from the mental anguish. I see my psychiatrist once a month and I started journaling. Fantastic. And you're in the right place. I have a dozen friends on the boat with the same diagnosis, maybe more. A lot of people on the lifeboat have been diagnosed with this. By the way, everybody in prison they diagnosed with that. I'm not joking. I don't know anybody that's been to prison when they went to the prison psych did not get diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, and in association with a couple of other ones. But antisocial personality disorder is another one. But those two they just throw on everybody, and their rationale is, well, I mean, obviously you're antisocial, you're in prison, right? It's really stupid stuff. I went on Ozempic, was having terrible pain, and it made me depressed. 6 months later, doctor told me he didn't believe me when. Let's see if we can get the next one. Yeah, so it is time. So look, paracetamol is just Tylenol 3 with codeine. That's all it is. It's the exact same thing. It's just acetaminophen and codeine. Yeah, that's just Tylenol 3 with codeine. Witchy Trista. Yeah, it had it for a very long time. And as people are saying, in different countries, it still does. But when I started working with people in Australia 3 years ago, they were getting it. And then just, I guess, recently, while I was working with people, because they were complaining to me about it. Shelly Cap says, I think most people don't want to be inconvenienced by other people's struggles, except here. You know what? I love that. I really do. Um, wow. Susie. So that's part two of that. I told him, but they have now found that Ozempic can cause unaliving, right? People having those thoughts about taking themselves off planet Earth. That absolutely is a side effect. I've heard of it. I've heard of it. Thank you, Rona. I tried therapy twice. I'm currently trying to find a person who specializes in dialectic behavioral training. What part of the country are you in? Are you in the U.S., Brittany? Because if you're willing to do it over the telephone, I probably know people that specialize in DBT, but they it would probably be over the phone stuff. Lisa from Jersey says they are now saying that cancer patients don't require opioids. It's getting insane. It sure is. It sure is. I find that really distressing. You know, we're always doing that stupid knee-jerk reaction that we're never logical, right? We got to do, these big stupid decisions, and everything is over the top with what we do. It's always reactive, and it's always stupid. Kathy says, I've self-medicated for decades, and I'm just beginning to navigate the legal medical path to wellness. It's daunting, but I'm hell-bent on finding a solution because I'm an OG warrior. Much love. Kathy, thank you. By the way, thank you for the book. And I already started on it. Doesn't happen very often, but I did. I picked it up today at a very good time, and I was waiting for somebody, and it was right there. And I just said, I'll start reading this. And then I got into it. I really appreciate you. I'm a fan of reading, people. I really am. Crafty Witch says, I really like to pass on the knowledge I've learned from my unfortunate medical problems. I love that. Says a lot about, and this channel, I think, kind of thing that people do here, right? We share knowledge. It's peer support. You're in Maryland. Well, there you go, Brittany Van Brackle. Okay. Well, I will make some inquiries about people in that state who work with DBT stuff. They still may be able to do it online, but a lot of times you have to do it with people in your state because they get really weird about stuff like that. Yeah, I tend to agree with that. In all honesty, Tommy Bird. I hate to do the tinfoil hat thing, but if half of the people on planet Earth are going to die of cancer, and that's what they tell us, you got a 50% chance of that taking you off the planet, right? How have we never lost a president or a vice president? That math doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. If you just take the number of presidents we've had, you'd think that a crap load of them would have died by 50%. We got 47 of them. Right? I don't know, man. But I'm paranoid. Spent a decent amount of time with the government being my caretaker. And if you don't think that will make you paranoid, people, I swear to God, see how Uncle Sam treats people when no one else is watching, and it will absolutely make you paranoid. It will absolutely make you paranoid. And just because you're paranoid does not mean that everyone's not out to get you. You know that, right? Big shout out to Kathy Ann for volume 1, volume 2, and volume 3 of and This Is a Cat in a Basket. If you have not seen those yet, That is, it's just some of the coolest stuff ever. She has taken every time I've said at the end of one of the shows, and this is a cat in a basket. And if you've not been on the boat for a long time, you may not realize that. Holy hell. I must have done that 300 times. Like I've done it a bunch.